Hi, welcome back guys. This is your sensei, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Naruto Found a Secretive Past and Got Harem. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Prologue. It was nighttime in Konoha, though one could be forgiven if you had said it was a warm summer's day. Konohagakure no Sato, the village hidden in the leaves, was under attack. The attacker was not the army of an enemy village. The attacker was not even human, it was a blood-red fox of monstrous proportions. The fox was by all definitions a demon and as such had a fitting title, Kyuubi no Yako. The attack left the village in flames burning so bright, creating that illusion that night was day, the heat from these flames so intense that it could be felt all throughout the village. The fox had appeared 15 weeks ago for some unknown reason. It had been roaming the countryside, apparently in search of something. Then one fell night it started on a rampage, killing all who stood in its way. The ninja of Konoha were not simply going to let this demon destroy their home. Everything that they had worked so hard to rebuild after the war with Iwagakure would be for naught if the fox penetrated their line of defense. They fought with all the power they could muster, trying everything they knew to subdue the beast, but it was not enough. The monster was powerful, outrageously so, nothing seemed to work. They soon realized that if anyone could bring the monster down it would be the strongest in their village, the fourth Hokage. The fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, even had his own doubts about whether he could defeat the fox. He had discussed with his wife Kushina about his plan of attack when intelligence reports came through that the fox was on a rampaging path towards Konoha. Flashback. Minato-kun, what will you do? A worried Kushina asked her beloved. There was no immediate reply. A long silence followed as he thought his answer through carefully. Kushina waited patiently, a trait most uncharacteristic of her. I'm thinking that I may have to seal it. There doesn't seem to be any other way. The response, while definite, was not without pain. The sealing process was such that it required his life. Seal? She inquired through narrowed eyes. Into what? This is the Kyuubi no Yako that we are talking about here, not the Nibai which is sealed into an iron ball or the Ikabai, sealed into a kettle. It will simply break free if the prison does not have a will of its own to hold it at bay. The fox is simply too powerful. While mostly curious, she was slightly suspicious. What did her husband know of sealing methods that would allow him to be able to seal the most powerful of Biju? Minato drew a long breath before answering. Kushina-chan, I must seal it into a newborn baby 3 days old at the most. It is the only way. Kushina looked at the man she loved. Though this look held no love, it was the one that she reserved for her most hated enemies. It was one that spoke of knowing unforgivable atrocities were committed by the soon-to-be dead. You cannot be serious, you would be damning that child to a life of misery. She asked with a rather sharp edge to her voice, currently thinking about her unborn baby and what would happen if that fate was thrust upon it. I have no choice. One sacrifices or her life to save the rest. There was no anger in his voice, only regret and disappointment for the current course of action. She softened her gaze and then asked quietly, what if you and I? Minato interrupted, no, we are only mortal. There is nothing we can do. The sealing is the only method. Very well. What if aren't any babies born in the 3 days prior to the attack? Then what? Seeing the apologetic look on Minato's face, a sudden wave of realization swept over her. No, you will not use our child. I will not subject our own flesh and blood to that. I'm nowhere near giving birth yet anyway. Kushina stood firm. We can induce the pregnancy. As it stands, we will be leaving behind an orphan, and I would trust no one else with such a burden. She was in shock. Orphan? What do you mean orphan? The sealing. He hesitated lightly. The sealing will require my life. I must summon the Shinigami to consummate the sealing. She realized what he was saying. The bond that they shared was beyond the legal status of husband and wife. It was such that when one pair of the couple died, the other would die as well, so they would be united in the afterlife and the remaining person would not be left lonely. It took many days of arguing between Kushina and Minato before her resolve was finally broken and she agreed to have the sealing performed on their unborn baby. In flashback. That brings us back to the present. The Konoha ninja were no longer trying to kill the beast, merely slow it down, waiting for the fourth Hokage to arrive. Minato was in the hospital, holding his unconscious wife's hand as their child. A healthy young boy was removed, though cesarean section. After the procedure, the genjutsu used to place her in an unconscious state was removed, allowing her to hold her child for the first and only time. She was enthralled by his little hand grasping around her finger as she nursed him. She was brought out of her reverie by a deep voice. Kushina, it's time. I must go and perform the sealing before any more lives are lost. Came Minato's voice, breaking into her thoughts. Then he leant over and said in a voice so low that only she could hear, I'll see you on the other side, Minato Koi, was Kushina's simple reply. In a streak yellow that had earned him the title of Konoha's Yellow Flash, the Yondaime Hokage had disappeared to the battlefield, knowing that his death would be the price for the victory he was about to achieve. When he got to the battlegrounds, then was a unanimous cry from the ninja that their leader had arrived, that their shining hope had come to save the day, cheering him to victory. Minato heard none of this. When he arrived he was in shock. Never had he imagined the scale of destruction he was viewing. He was a man that had killed an enemy army on his own, and yet to him this was even worse. Every sense was informing him of the tragedy that had occurred. The feeling of a blood-soaked ground squelching as he walked, the sound of dying comrades that were not granted the mercy of a swift and painless death, the smell of burning flesh, the taste of the smoke thick in the air from all of the fires, and the sight of hundreds upon hundreds of lifeless bodies, ripped into shreds, burnt, flattened by the fox's great paws, all dyed red with blood. A man that appeared much too old to be on the battlefield approached him. "Minato-kun, are you sure that this is for the best? You could teach me the hand signs for the just-do and allow me to take your place?" Sarutobi, the previous Hokage, had asked. "No, old man, this is my responsibility. I will not shirk from my duties as Hokage." The tone of his voice indicated a will of steel that would likely never be changed. "Jiraiya-sensei, Kakashi-kun, please watch over him and if possible teach him a trick or two," he said as he addressed two men that appeared with the previous Hokage. Jiraiya, a man in his mid-40s with a flowing mane of white hair, and Kakashi, a boy in his mid-late teens with a cloth mask over the bottom half of his face and a mop of silver hair. After they both gave their solemn promise to do all that they could for the boy, Minato summoned Gambunta, the Toad Boss. "Minato, if I'm not much mistaken, that's the Kyuubi. Don't tell me you seriously intend on taking on the most powerful of the Biju." Gambunta's deep rumbling voice was heard all throughout the battlefield. "Afraid so, boss. I need you to keep him busy and me out of his reach while I make the final preparations for the sealing," was the reply in request by Minato. "I will do what I can," was the only reply that Minato received, for Gambunta had already jumped into the fray to occupy the fox, ninjato drawn. The fox turned to be more than a tough adversary for the Toad Boss. Every time the fox was open and Gambunta had a clear shot at it, it would simply swing its tails in defense, tails said to be able to cause tsunamis and crush mountains. While there was no large body of water to test this out on, and the nearest mountain was Hokage Monument, miles away in Kano, the widespread destruction seen in the forest trees was more than enough reason to make Gambunta try to dodge the blows instead of block. Then Minato's voice rang through the sound of battle. "It's ready. Kyuubi no Yauko, I can't kill you but I can still seal you soul. Goodbye, you pitiful creature. Shikifuan," he screamed. Visible to only Minato and the Kyuubi, a spectral entity appeared behind Minato, the Shinigami. It plunged its hand into the Kyuubi and tore out its soul, placing it into the stomach of the newly born Naruto, where an intricate pattern appeared on his stomach. As his last words, he spoke to Naruto. "Naruto, please forgive your father for the burden I have placed on you. I'm sorry for preventing you from meeting either of your parents, but this had to be done. Goodbye, my son." The surrounding ninja couldn't see what was happening. All they knew was that the Kyuubi had disappeared. They started to rejoice, the crisis finally over. The rejoicing was brought to an abrupt end when their Hokage voice screamed out in pain. Sarutobi, Jiraiya, and Kakashi all knew what was happening and tried as best they could to hold back their tears, but it was in vain. They could not, and they finally allowed their tears to freely fall down their face. Just as suddenly as the screaming had started, the screaming ended. Minato, falling off of Gambunta's head, was caught in Jiraiya's arms as the little bundle of cloth that was Naruto was caught in Kakashi's arms. Sarutobi had the responsibility of holding the crowd at bay, telling them that this was neither the time nor the place to answer all of their questions. Gambunta was able to shed a single tear before he dispelled to the summoning realm, as there was no human to anchor him to this realm. It had already been decided that Sarutobi would once again take up the reins and become the Hokage after Minato had died from the ceiling. He had clearly stated that questions could be asked later and any that were not of a classified nature would be answered. He was glad he had made that decision, as he realized that, overcome with grief, he could hardly answer the questions that would have been asked even if he wanted to. In the hospital, the nurse that had been assigned to look after Kushina was suddenly alerted as the hospital machines alerted her to the fact that there were no signs of life from the one they were attached to. Slightly panicked, she rushed to the room to find Kushina lying in bed deathly still. She hit the emergency button, calling for other nurses. Other nurses and 2 doctors rushed into the room, intent on doing all they could to revive the Hokage's wife. After 20 minutes of failed attempts, she was declared dead by one of the doctors at 12:14 a.m. on October the 11th, just hours after giving birth to Naruto. With the death following the cesarean section so closely, it was assumed that she died giving birth to Naruto, as the strain of the operation was too much, resulting in her death. Sarutobi had arrived at his office in the Hokage Tower and found on his desk 2 envelopes, one addressed to him and another addressed to Naruto. Furious, he opened the one to him, and almost dropped it when he realized from whom it came. It was a letter from Minato. It read, "Sarutobi," or perhaps Hokage-sama is a more appropriate title now. "In any case, there are some issues that I need to inform you of after my death. The first concerns the letter that is addressed to Naruto. It contains an explanation to Naruto as to why I did this to him. This includes explanation of his heritage. It also contains my last words to him and some advice on how to live his life. It also contains a letter from Kushina, his mother, as by the time you read this she will also be dead. I will explain this in greater detail later. It has some information about the both of us so that he may have some understanding about who his parents were. Also, sealed within the letter are scrolls from both my clan and Kushina's clan, both of being the last of our kind. This is protected by a blood seal so that only Naruto's blood can open it. I can only pray that more devious minds will not cut Naruto in order to see the information contained within those scrolls. Naruto's letter must be given to him when he becomes a genin. He has trials to prepare for that only he can face. How do I know that he even wants to be one? It's not a choice really. If he wants to be considered clan head in either my clan or Kushina's clan, he needs to be able to fight and fight very well. Finally, I said that I would explain why Kushina is dead. Here goes. Kushina and I were bound by more than the simple laws of Konoha when we married. The laws of both our clan were invoked and created a bond between us. Simply put, when one feels pain, so does the other, and when one feels joy, the same occurs. This holds true in death as well, and when one half dies, so does the other, so that they may be united wherever they go and that they will not feel loneliness in the other's absence after death. My last words to you are first of all a request. Please try to have Naruto seen as a hero by the village. I have every confidence that this can happen, though Kushina does not share my sentiment. Look after my village, old man, and good luck with all the paperwork. Yours truly, Minato Namikaze. Sarutobi was floored by then information, shocked that Naruto was now an orphan. Sarutobi let out a long sigh. It was only his first hour back and already he had to deal with crap that he really would have rather not have to. It was necessary to tell the council that the Hokage was dead and that the Kyuubi had been sealed and not killed. He thought sadly, this is going to cause uproar amongst the villagers, I just know it. Sadly, I think that I have to agree with Kushina. They are not going to be as generous as he thinks they will be. In the council chambers, all of the clan heads were present as well as the council elders Danzo, Hamura, and Koharu. There was unrest amongst the ranks, all owing to the simple rumor that the fourth Hokage was dead. Koharu was first to call Sarutobi on this. Sarutobi, what's this nonsense that everyone is spouting? The fourth Hokage being dead. The aged Hokage had to compose himself before answering. First of all, you must address me as Sarutobi-sama or Hokage-sama now, because it is not nonsense. The fourth Hokage is dead. Koharu gaped like a stunned mullet before finally getting her voice back and softly asking how. He was fighting the Kyuubi no Yauko, an immortal being of immense power. Surely you didn't expect a mere mortal, no matter how strong, to prevail with his life intact, no less. She was summarily silenced, only for another voice to join the conversation. Hokage-sama, it was Shibaya Burame, ever careful to be respectful of one above his post. You said that it was not possible for him to defeat an immortal being regardless of whether he lived or died, yet he achieved the feat. Would you mind divulging how? It was time to bite the bullet, and Sarutobi knew it. He didn't defeat it, not in the true sense of the word anyway. The beast was sealed into a newborn baby. There was an upsurge of outrage from many of the present council members asking for the name and whereabouts of this child, many calling for its execution. This was all silenced by the Hokage. Quiet. There will be no such travesty of justice while I am Hokage. He roared above the racket. The demon is simply a wolf in lamb's clothing. It could break out and destroy us, or even use the body of the child as a conduit for its actions. The voice belonged to Fugaku Uchiha. There was also a murmur of agreement from the rest of the crowd. There was a sudden outburst from one of the other clan heads. That is a very flawed line of thinking, Uchiha-san. It was Shikaku Nara, with the most uncharacteristic outburst. Explain, was the very sharp retort from Fugaku. Better yet, I'll demonstrate, and proceeded to seal a kunai into a scroll. He gave the sealed kunai to Fugaku and then stated, now kill me using that sealed kunai. There was a gasp from the audience as Fugaku had unsealed the kunai and was charging towards the Nara clan head, only for him to stop in his tracks a few meters from Shikaku due to being caught by his cage main jutsu. What's the matter? Had second thought about dying here. Fugaku taunted. I said kill me with the sealed kunai, not unseal the kunai and kill me, he replied evenly, sounding almost bored. There is no difference, Fugaku snarled. Of course there is. If we liken the situation to Naruto, he is the scroll and the Kyuubi is the kunai. The container cannot kill me, but the imprisoned certainly could, explained Shikaku. Ha, you have just proven my point. The sealed can kill us, and just as this kunai was unsealed, so can the Kyuubi be unsealed, Fugaku shouted in triumph. Think about what you just said. Who unsealed the kunai? You did. Shikaku's voice cut through Fugaku's apparently premature celebration. Get to your point, Fugaku stated icily, leveling a glare at the Nara clan head. Quite simply, the only reason the sealed became a threat was because someone with knowledge unsealed it. Meaning that if no one tampers with the seal containing the Kyuubi, then we are safe. All we have to do is ensure that no one tries to do anything so foolish. Fugaku fumed. He knew he was beaten, but more importantly the Nara head had just made him lose face in front of the council. More importantly, the Hyuga, the Uchiha's only rival clan within the village. The Hokage, on the other hand, well, he was elated, simply overjoyed that other people could see past the demon sealed into the boy and realize that he was only a human. Perhaps there was hope after all. Danzo had observed the conversation for long enough. Now it was time for him to put forth his own ideas and potentially further his own agenda. Hokage-sama, if the boy has such a powerful resource at his disposal, then would it not be wise to train him to make the most of it? He inquired. Before you even try to recruit Naruto to that root program of yours, there will be no such thing happening today. As it stands, I have half a mind to disband the group now. However, we were called here for different purpose, so we will stick to the task at hand. Sarutobi stated, destroying any hopes Danzo may have had of acquiring a new and powerful weapon to brainwash into being a loyal servant. If I may be so bold, Hokage-sama, can I inquire who the parents of the boy are? The question was voiced by Hayashi Hyuga, head of the Hyuga clan. The boy is an orphan, both parents killed through the course of the Kyuubi's attack. Sarutobi answered. While it wasn't what the council wanted to hear, it was not a lie. He could only hope that they assumed that it was a civilian child or at best the child of two jounin, not the son of the most powerful ninja to have lived and his wife, a former Whirlpool legend. Finally, it was Hamura's turn to speak up. Hokage-sama, we must still alert the village as to what is living amongst them. And what is living amongst them, Hamura-san? Asked Sarutobi rather testily. A demon, was the shout from one of the council members. Sarutobi leveled a glare that promised death. The council member audibly gulped and returned to his station. We have already determined that he is no more a demon than that scroll is the sealed kanai. His words were icy as his stare still seemed to linger on the council member. Nonetheless, Hokage-sama, you have called us here to inform us that the Kyuubi was sealed and not killed. If you weren't here to tell us who it was sealed into, then why even bother to convene us? Hamura replied. The Hokage could not deny the truth in his words. He had essentially told the council nothing and realized that he'd indeed have to proffer the name. Naruto. He hesitated slightly, not wanting to open another can of worms that could occur if he used the name Namikaze Naruto Uzumaki. He said, opting to give Naruto his mother's maiden name. Not that it should matter, it was the Yondame's dying wish that he be viewed as a hero. However, seeing the reaction that Fugaku just had is more than to give me grounds to believe that this won't happen. Sarutobi continued, while still silently hoping that more people would share Shikaku's point of view. Now that everything is out in the open and that you have all been made aware of the situation with the Kyuubi, the death of the Yondame and my reinstatement as the Hokage, there is nothing further that needs to be said at this meeting. Let us all go back to what is left of our families and try to get a night of rest before we mourn for our lost ones. It was at times like this that Sarutobi truly felt his age, and he gave his advice to the members of the council in a solemn and somewhat subdued tone. Sarutobi was in the middle of going home when a sudden thought had occurred to him. Minato and Kushina had gone to extraordinary lengths to conceal her pregnancy, yet they had to let someone in on the secret, namely the people who tended to them through their stay in the hospital. He quickly changed route and arrived at Konoha General Hospital a short while later. He went to the head of the hospital and requested and all staff that we involved in the care of Kushina and her unborn baby, from the doctor and surgeon that performed the operation to the cleaners responsible for cleaning the private room. A short while later, everyone who was originally grumbling about being called in at the current hour quickly silenced themselves as they realized that they were in the presence of a previous Hokage. When everyone was settled, Sarutobi began talking. Thank you all for gathering here at this ungodly hour. The effort is appreciated. It has come to my attention that all of you have in some way had contact with Kushina and Minato through the period of Kushina's pregnancy. I must ask you to never, ever reveal this information to anyone. Minato is viewed as a hero in our village for his efforts through the Iwa-Konoha War. As a result, he is also regarded as a demon and a dealer of death to Iwa and their allies Kumo. If either of these two countries were to discover Minato's heir, they would send a squad to perform an assassination immediately. Many were sobered by this information. It is for this reason that I must classify this information as an S-rank secret of our village. The penalty for divulging such information is death, not only to the party responsible for telling the secret, but also to the recipient of the information, so think very carefully before betraying my trust. There was a nod of assent from the group of people he was addressing, and he took it that everyone understood the gravity of the situation. With nothing left to say, he dismissed them, and warily he thought that he would also have to speak to Kakashi and Jiraiya about this as well. He was sorely tempted to leave the task till morning, though he knew that his laziness would come back to bite him, so he grudgingly made the trip to Kakashi's house first. He knew where Jiraiya could be found. When he got to Kakashi's front door and it was answered by the youth, all he said was, "Come with me, I have something to discuss with you and Jiraiya." Well, it was Kakashi to refuse such an invitation. When the cage spoke, you damn well listened. A short while later found them outside the Namikaze clan grounds. While not quite as big as either the Hyuga or Uchiha clan compounds, it was still quite a large area. Jiraiya was found inside the main house, looking weary after a long night and now tending to Naruto. Once he had the attention of both men, he began. I know you two know that this is Minato's son. In fact, it's for that very reason that I have called you here. I want you to keep this a secret. You can easily understand the trouble it would cause if either Kumo or Iwa found out he is Minato's heir. The hospital staff are already aware of this, and I have classed it as an S-rank secret. I'm sure I don't have to explain the implications. Both men shook their heads, affirming that they knew that if they told the secret they would pay with their lives. Now that he had taken care of all business that needed immediate attention, he was left to simply shunch into his clan home and sleep, preparing for tomorrow. 3 days later saw a service held for those who have bravely fought and lost their lives in the battle against the Kyuubi. It was the place that Sarutobi announced his reinstatement as the Hokage. He gave a speech, trying to lift the morale of the people he was to lead once more. People of Konoha, 3 days ago we were dealt a very severe blow. We lost friends, comrades, and family members. We also lost a great leader. The Yondame was a great man and will be forever missed. Giving his life for the prospect of saving this village and defeating the Kyuubi is a feat that only Minato Namikaze would be capable of. Through his sacrifice, we realize just how strong the will of fire was within him. We must look to his sacrifice and display of his will as inspiration to rebuild and create a better tomorrow. The people clapped politely in appreciation for Sarutobai's effort as raising their morale. Sarutobai noticed the tension amongst the members of the crowd and wondered what had them so tense, until one of them spoke up and asked, "Hokage-sama, are the rumors true? Are the rumors that the Kyuubi was sealed and not killed true?" One person asked amongst the 1,000 or so that were gathered. Sarutobai cursed under his breath. What idiotic council member had decided to let that information leak out? "Hokage-sama, people are saying that the Kyuubi was sealed into a boy. What if it breaks free? What if it uses Naruto to kill all of us?" Now the Hokage was livid. Who the hell had the foresight of telling a group of distraught villagers that the one for their pain was sealed inside something as fragile as a human baby? He had decided that they had better hear the truth straight from the source, rather than getting some garbled version that was most likely tailored to suit the purposes of the one spreading the rumor. Yes, it's true, the demon is sealed within baby. The Kyuubi was too powerful, even for Minato. So he did the only thing he knew that had the best possibility of working, he sealed it. And what has been done about it? Asked another face in the crowd, slightly confused, but hoping that this wasn't leading where he thought it was. He asked, "And what should be done?" "It needs to be killed," was the swift reply from yet another crowd member, almost instantly followed by further shouts demanding similar actions or nods of approval. "The Kyuubi is sealed in the child, not reincarnated as it," the Hokage shouted out above the noise, frustrated by the close-mindedness of the people he had chosen to lead once again. "The thing could escape, or use him directly to hurt us," with a counter-argument. "Do you have such little faith in the Yondaime as to suggest that his method would fail us when he gave his very life to ensure our safety? Not to mention that he called upon the power of the Shinigami in order to seal the Kyuubi away. It's not that we have a lack of faith in either the Shinigami or the Yondaime or that we underestimate them, it's just that this is the Kyuubi no Gyoko. The Yondaime was only human, subject to mistakes, and we don't know which is stronger and seal-bound by the Shinigami or a demon's will to live and escape, so to prevent any harm, he should be killed." Sarutobai looked into the crowd and saw many faces reflecting support for the words spoken before he laid down the law, quite literally. This child will not get a chance with the lot of you, and I cannot simply make a law stating that you must like him. So this is a new law that I am laying down now and putting into effect immediately in order to give Naruto some chance of a normal life in his later years. No person is to mention the fact that Naruto has the Kyuubi to anyone. This means that it cannot be mentioned in public, nor can it be discussed in the privacy of one's own home. Yes, that includes warning your children of it, as they need not know. This is to be considered an S-rank secret. For the civilians in the gathering, this means that any utterance of this issue in any fashion will result in your execution. There were gasps of shock from the crowd at how harsh the penalty was. Secondly, any attempts to take justice into your own hands and kill Naruto will be met with the same punishment, death. This is final. Realizing that there was nothing further to be said and that Sarutobai's mind could not be swayed on the matter, the congregation broke up, returning to trying to rebuild their lives. As they left to go about their business, Sarutobai looked to the back of the gathering, seeing Naruto in the arms of Jiraiya, thinking, "The next few years are gonna be long as hell. Minato-kun, I'm sorry they disregarded your last wish." End prologue. 4 years later, he was running. He didn't know why. No, he knew why he was running. If they caught him, then they would make him suffer, do painful things to him. What he didn't know was why they were chasing. He didn't dare stop to ponder. He had learnt that talking did nothing, only evasion till the old man came. Why was today any different from any other day? Usually they just settle for ignoring him, shooing him out of their shops and shielding other children from him. The old man had said it was his birthday today. Weren't people supposed to be nice to you on your birthday? These were the thoughts running through Naruto's head as he ran from a group of drunk and enraged villagers. His feet pounded the pavement as he desperately struggled to get away from his pursuers. He was fortunate for the many nooks, crannies, broken fences that were around in this district. They gave him ample room to hide while the adults chasing him, or else a quick thoroughfare to another alleyway, while they were either forced to climb over or find a different route if they still wanted to harm him. While he was running, he wasn't paying too much care to his surroundings. He turned a corner, blindly hoping that the old man would come and rescue him. After turning the corner, his face blanched. It was a dead end, and no one of those broken-down fences so common in this area, but a solid brick wall, impossible to get around. He turned around in the hopes that he would still have enough time to back out and try to continue his escape. He had no such luck, as the pursuers were already upon him, each with an evil leer on their face. "Looky what we have here," one of their number said to his accomplices, a slight slur of alcohol affecting his speech. "The demon has gone and trapped itself in an alleyway." The man finished with a slightly crazed look about his face. Another spoke up, this time a woman. "It's even decided to take us to some weapons to help us finish the Yondaime's good work." She grinned maniacally, casting a look about the alleyway and spotting some broken glass bottles as well as some broken plumbing pipes that looked ready to be ripped out of their moorings. Anything that could be used as a weapon was taken up and swung, just to get a feel of the thing. Then it started. Blood-curdling screams could be heard from ages away, as Naruto desperately tried to protect himself by curling up into a ball and covering his head. His screams for mercy were ignored by the group. This is for all the friends and family we lost. Feel the pain we are giving you and know that it will never compare to the pain you caused us. We will never get our loved ones back. This time a boy in his late teens snarled at Naruto while viciously slashing with a broken bottle. The crowd by this stage was growing frustrated. He was just simple not dying. More proof that he was a demon after all. What normal human child could take such a beating and still move, much less scream my agony? Had they been more composed, they would have noticed that the cuts and bruises that they were dealing him were healing almost as fast as they were delivered, only to be replaced by fresh ones. Hold him still. One of them grunted. The others did as they were asked. Well, this is a demon. No one can survive without air. He promptly slashed a shard of glass across Naruto's trachea. At that point, the air around them felt like it had gone completely frigid. It was a pressure so unbearable it was hard to breathe. They turned and looked for the source. A man with a mop of silver hair wearing standard Konoha Jounin attire was standing before them. He had a cloth face mask and his hidaite covering his left eye. Kakashi was livid. What in the hell do you think you are doing? One of the crowd stammered a weak response. We are finishing what the Yondameson started and what UN ninja are 2W. Weak to finish. We are killing the demon. Kakashi's eyes narrowed. You have been made aware that the demon is sealed in Naruto and that they are not one and the same. You would also be aware of the Hokage's hardline stance on issues regarding Naruto. As it stands, I need to get him to medical attention immediately, so I can't take you to Ibiki for questioning. There was a collective sigh of relief. Everyone, even civilians, knew of Ibiki's sadism, well him and his protege Anko. Kakashi continued, no, your punishment will be administered immediately. You will be executed for your crimes. He drew a kunai from the holster on his leg, and before the civilians even realized he had moved, he was amongst their number, killing them with cold efficiency. Once he was done, he rushed over to Naruto to inspect the damage. Kami-sama above, what have they done to you? He said to himself. Naruto opened a heavily bruised eye, and all that he could see was a shock of silver, lost of blue and a little pink, probably skin, before he passed out. Kakashi was preparing to shunshin him to the hospital when he stopped to take notice of the cuts that were healing on his body. The Kyuubi is healing him, he idly though before shunshining to the hospital. He didn't bother to even try the general admittance. He shunshined directly into a room that was specifically set up for Naruto. He had been through this before and knew what to do. He hit the emergency button that called for a special team of doctors and nurses. It also linked to the Hokage's office so that the Hokage would be alerted any time the room was in use, as the room was reserved for Naruto alone. Not 20 seconds later, a group of men and women walked in and wasted no time in getting to work. The Hokage shunshined in shortly after. Kakashi, report. He stated in a voice that commanded authority. He was attacked by a group of villagers. Hokage-sama was the swift reply. And of the villagers, Sarutobi further inquired. All dead, sir. There wasn't time to bring Naruto here and take them in for questioning. Rather than let them get off scot-free, I took the best course of action I could think of and killed them on the spot. Their remains are still in the ally way. Very well then, I'll put Itachi on cleanup duty then. You have done well. They watched in silence as the medics went about doing their job of healing Naruto. Kakashi finally broke the silence. Hokage-sama, I've been meaning to ask, where did you find a group of medics so willing to treat Naruto? This group of people are the ones that cared for Kushina through her stay in the hospital while she was carrying Naruto. They never saw Naruto as the demon inside of him as they saw him being born, understanding that he is indeed human. I see, was the only reply he received. Once the medic nins had done all that they could, a doctor by the name of Megumi Takane approached the two men but addressed the Hokage more specifically. He needs rest. He has been through a lot tonight, and even though the physical damage is mostly repaired, he still needs to recover from the emotional damage. We will continue to monitor his progress and let you know of any changes to his condition. As a final observation, the Kyuubi's chakra healed most of the damage before we could. By the time Hadake-san had brought him in here, most of the wounds were healed or well on their way to being closed over. Sarutobi answered slowly, very well. I will wait here till he has regained consciousness. Kakashi, could you and Itachi Uchiha please go and clean up the mess before some innocent child stumbles across it? At once, Hokage-sama. Even if the Hokage had wanted to, he wouldn't have got another word in as Kakashi shunshined away almost immediately. Strange, he thought he is late for nearly everything, and yet when he feels like it he can perform tasks with the swiftness of the wind. White, that was all he saw when he opened his eyes. It couldn't be his room in the orphanage. The room was so dirty that the walls were caked in black filth. He looked around to see the old man talking to a young woman. He remembered her face. She was one of the few that were nice to him. There was the old man, some people at the hospital, old man Ikaraku and his daughter Iame, and hopefully now the strange figure that had saved him last night would be able to join that list. The Hokage watched patiently as Naruto roused himself from his sleep. Idly looking at him over the hours, he realized quite a number of things. The most obvious was that Naruto truly looked like his father. How no one in the village had picked up on it yet was beyond his understanding. While thinking of Minato, he was reminded about the letter he was left. Naruto's letter must be given to him when he becomes a genin. He has trials to prepare for that only he can face. How do I know that he even wants to be one? It's not a choice really. If he wants to be considered clan head in either my clan or Kushina's clan, he needs to be able to fight and fight very well. Sarutobi pondered the point for a while before coming to realize that even without the requirement to need to fight well to lead the clan, he was going to need some form of training if he wanted to live to see his 5th birthday. Nothing too serious. Perhaps just introduce him to the basic Bunshin and Taijutsu style used in Konoha's ninja academy as well as Kawarami and Henge. These things could help him survive and escape the rampant crowds long enough for either him or his ANBU to arrive. Naruto, are we feeling better? He was originally going to ask, are you alright? But it seemed like a stupid question after nearly being beat to death. I'm feeling better, though I really wish that I knew why they pick on me so much, Oji-san. Sarutobi looked back at him sadly and said, I wish I knew too, Naruto-kun. They have no reason to do when they do to you. He had answered the question without being too specific, something that he had to do more and more these days. He knew the day was fast approaching when he could not be so vague. In any case, at the moment it seemed to work as Naruto was satisfied that he was not at fault. Naruto, I've been thinking, how would you like to start training as a ninja? Sarutobi asked cautiously. When he saw Naruto's eyes light up, he realized just what he had gotten himself into. Are you serious, Oji-san? Like training me to move super fast? Or are you training me to hide in the shadows? Or like teaching me ultra awesome, super cool jutsu? Sarutobi had to hold his hand to stem the flow of questions that were coming thick and fast. Now Naruto had asked the questions, he realized that he would have to decide what to have taught to Naruto by his sensei. Higher ranking jutsu was out of the question, not until he got far more control of his chakra, otherwise using high-level jutsu could have catastrophic effects, particularly considering how high his chakra reserves could be with his father being Hoiwas and the fox adding to them. We will discuss that with your sensei when the time comes. For now you need to rest. Do you have any special request for food? I CHIRAKU's ramen. He shouted at the top of his lungs. The Sandame had to twiddle his finger in his ear. Apparently he looked like his father but had his mother's behavior to deal with. As a certain Nara would put it, this could be troublesome. You rest for now. When you wake up again, your sensei will be waiting here for you with bowl of ramen you seem to love so much. Naruto threw himself at the old Hokage, wrapping his arms around his neck, practically screaming, thank you, Oji-san. You're the best. After Sarutobi had regained some semblance of hearing after and made sure that Naruto was asleep, he shunshined out to his office. Once there, he summoned one of his ANBU. Hawks appeared before him. Go find Kakashi Haddock and tell him that when he is done cleaning up that I wish to speak with him. At you command, Hokage-sama, and promptly left to complete his assigned task. Sarutobi was left to his own thoughts as H waited for Kakashi to finish his duties before arriving. He sat there and looked at a picture of his late successor on the wall and thought to himself, Minato, what would you think of you village if you could see what they did, what they still do to your son? After nearly an hour lost in thought, Kakashi eventually shunshined into the office. That took a surprisingly long time considering both you and Itachi were assigned. Were there really that many bodies? Sarutobi asked, genuinely interested. No, there weren't that many bodies. I finished shortly after getting the message, but there was a chain of black cats walking across the city. I had to leave the city if I didn't want to cross their path. A vein pulsed in Sarutobi's forehead. He truly didn't know what was more irritating, Kakashi's tardiness, or his lies, which were obvious to even the youngest of children. In any case, I've called you here to ask you to be a sensei. Sarutobi decided to let his frustration go for the time being. I don't know why you bother asking me every time. No team has ever met my expectations. It's not likely that anything is about to change now. It isn't a team I want you to train, it's an individual, Sarutobi said with a grin. I want you to train Naruto. Naruto? In what? Ballet. Sarutobi answered in a completely serious voice. The ninja arts, of course. What else? Sarutobi's voice now had a hint of irritation to it. Right. Of course. Yes, sorry. Kakashi at least had the decency to feel a little ashamed of his stupid question. I want you teaching him the basic academy jutsu, taijutsu. Also, we need to have him learn about stealth. Not only will it prove useful both now, while trying to hide from villagers till we get there, it will be vital throughout his ninja career. Hopefully it will also help him to quieten down a little. Sarutobi added on as afterthought, thinking about his still ringing ears. Very well, I'll accept. I'll go to the hospital and meet him. He hasn't really met me yet, Kakashi announced to the Hokage. Very good, but you will need to stop at Ikaraku's. I promised him his sensei would bring him some for when he woke up, Sarutobi added with a sheepish look about his face. Kakashi, cursing the need to go across the city and then track back with ramen in his hands, shunshined out of the office to appear almost an instant later outside Ikaraku's ramen stand. He got there and ordered 2 packs of miso to go before holding them both in one hand in order to perform the half ram with the other necessary to shunshin to Naruto's room. Kakashi, looking around, realized that Naruto was still asleep, placed the ramen on the bedside table and turned to close the door to the room. In the time that he turned, he heard furious slurping, lips smacking followed by a large belch. By the time he turned back, he noticed that both packs of miso ramen were missing and there was a very content-looking Naruto propped up against the wall, still sitting in bed. Weren't you asleep a second ago? Kakashi asked incredulously. Yep, was the bright reply. The smell of ramen woke me up, he clarified. Still in shock, Kakashi went on, trying to maintain some level of composure. Right. Well, Hokage-sama should have told you that you were going to get an instructor for the ninja arts. Well, that's me. My name is Kakashi. You can call me Kakashi-sensei seeing as I will be teaching you. Cool, so what are you gonna teach me? Some really powerful fighting style. Ultra speed. How to make dragons out of air. Kakashi couldn't get a word in. He finally started when Naruto had run out of breath. I will teach you how to hide really well. We're gonna make you a lot faster. We're only gonna learn a few things, and they are things you would learn from the academy anyway. But I really wanted to learn lots of cool things like how to beat a person with the flick of a finger. Kakashi thought at the back of his mind, well, if you can get Lady Tsunade to teach you, then you might be able to. In the middle of his wandering mind, he thought of a brilliant way to get Naruto to cooperate. Naruto, how does this sound? If you can learn everything that the Hokage wants me to teach you, then I will teach you an awesome move. Sound fair? What's the name of the move? Every awesome move has an awesome name. Kakashi pondered the point for a second before deciding on the name. It's called the Super Awesome, Ultra Flashy Jutsu. Kakashi looked at Naruto, who now appeared to have stars in his eyes at the prospect of learning something so awesome. Alright then, you got yourself a deal, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi smiled. He took it hook, line, and sinker. You're due to be released tomorrow morning, so I will pick you up from here. With nothing further left to say to each other, Kakashi left Naruto so he could rest up for tomorrow, leaving him free to pursue other activities. There was a very good book that the bookstore had just released that he wanted to buy, giving perverted giggle as he thought of his purchase to be. Morning couldn't come fast enough for Naruto. By the time Kakashi had arrived, he was literally bouncing off of the walls, telling anyone who would listen that he was going to learn to be a ninja as well as the super awesome, ultra flashy jutsu. It probably would have helped the hospital staff had Kakashi actually shown up when Naruto was discharged, rather than turning up 2 hours afterwards. Alright Naruto, time to commence your training. Do you know where the stream is? The one just near the hospital. After receiving a nod of confirmation, he continued, I want you to race me there. Of course it was not a true race. Kakashi, being a jounin of the village, could have beaten him there without even raising more than a hand. Ah, yes, Shunshin was a lovely thing. It was much easier to get him to work if he was having fun while doing it. By the next time he looked down, Naruto was already down the hall, cackling like a madman about how he was going to beat his sensei in a race. Kakashi kept tabs on him as he raced through the village, towards the stream. It would not do well to have him attacked again. As he kept watch, he took note of the glares that nearly every villager sent at Naruto. The ones that didn't glare completely disregarded him, as though he wasn't there, ignoring him, almost as bad as actively harassing him, Kakashi thought. When they both arrived at the stream, Naruto was the first to speak. So, what are we going to do here? Kakashi-sensei. We are first going to get to know each other beyond names. I'll start. You know my name, it's Kakashi. Likes, reading, my dislikes. Well, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. And my dream for the future, I'll tell you when you're older. Kakashi said the last part without the usual traces of a perverted tone usually present in his voice when discussing such matters. Indication that he might actually be serious about what he was talking about, though Naruto was too young for him to understand. Now you turn. Well, you know that my name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes are ramen and people that are nice to me. My dislikes are the time that it takes for ramen to be cooked and people that are mean to me. Dream for the future. Kakashi interrupted. You don't have to have one yet, but I would appreciate that if you do get a dream, then you tell me. Then I'll know that you are ready to hear my dream for the future. Naruto simply nodded. I am going to teach you how to swim. Kakashi suddenly announced. I thought you were going to teach me something cool, like how to walk on water. Naruto whined, not realizing that it actually was possible to walk on water. Nope, swimming, while strictly speaking, isn't a shinobi skill, is still vital for survival. What would happen if the Hokage gave you a mission someday that involved you getting wet in something deeper than a bath? I wouldn't be able to do it. Naruto realized that this important. Kakashi gave one of his eye smiles and said, Naruto, we are going to do some things that may not seem like they will help right away, but trust me when I say that they will be useful later on. Now strip to your boxers and I'll do the same so we are ready to get in the water. And so the lesson began. It wasn't all easy going. At first Naruto wasn't overly confident of being in the unfamiliar and wasn't too particularly trusting of Kakashi not to let him go and simply allow him to drown. In Kakashi's opinion, this was hardly surprising considering the track record he had with misplaced trust in the villagers. By the end of the hour, Kakashi had Naruto laying flat on the water rather than in an upright sit position. He was also surprised to see that his legs were performing the correct kicking motion rather than seeing the running motion that so many children display when learning to swim. Naruto, that's enough for swimming today. I think we should do something else while we dry off. Naruto obediently followed Kakashi along the water's edge till they were in a small clearing. He didn't seem to have the usual spring in his step, probably just tiredness from the swimming. What now, sensei? Asked Naruto, eager to learn more. He was soon learning that Kakashi was becoming someone he could trust. When Kakashi had said that he wouldn't let go in the water, he didn't. When Kakashi said he was going to let go and catch him again in a short while, he did. It seemed that when he gave his word, he kept it. We are going to meditate. This is for 2 reasons. The first that we need to unlock your chakra in order for you to do the jutsu you so want to learn. The second reason is that we can dry off before we put our clothes back on. To himself, Kakashi thought of the third reason. Hopefully it will calm him down and get him to stop bouncing around all of the time. How do I meditate, sensei? Naruto asked. You simply need to still and try to relax. While you are doing this, for today, I want you to focus on finding a warmth within you. This is your chakra. When you think you have found it, don't shout out. Simply remain focused and tell me, I will give you more instructions from there. Almost an hour had passed from when Kakashi had started Naruto on mediation. If he had guessed, Kakashi would have said that Naruto was asleep. He didn't think that it was possible for the blonde to be this quiet and awake at the same time. That was until Naruto in a small voice said, Sensei, I think I found it. It feels like a thought, only really hard to think. Kakashi smiled at these words. When you first accessed your chakra, it felt like a thought, or better yet, a sentence on the tip of your tongue that you couldn't quite say. Good, now focus on trying to drag it forwards. Try and think that though, Kakashi coached, trying to use Naruto's own words. It was another full minute before anything happened, then Kakashi felt it. Naruto's chakra came spilling out of him. So young, and he already had a capacity of what had to be at least mid to high genin level. He was floored. Good, Naruto, very good indeed. I want you to remember that feeling. Never forget it. It is one of the most important things you will use through your life as a ninja. Now that you know what your chakra feels like, I want you to try using it. I'm going to tech you some jutsu, but first we need to tech you the 12 basic hand signs. Kakashi ran through the 12 hand signs, giving Naruto time to copy and himself time to correct any mistakes in his signing. After Kakashi was confident that Naruto had the different head signs down pat, he showed him the hand signs for the henge. On Naruto's first try, the replica Kakashi had his weight distributed incorrectly, giving the impression of severely obese person instead of the fit person that he was. It took a further 23 more tries before Naruto got the dimensions correct. The only thing left to work on and at any great length was his eye for detail, as there were things missing from the transformation, such as a kunai holster or the buckling on his sandals. Next was the Kyuubi. This jutsu had its own unique set of hand signs, and again, Kakashi gave Naruto time to memorize them before getting him to perform it himself. Kyuubi no Jutsu, Naruto announced to the world. Kakashi's eye widened for a split second. That was the only amount of time that he had to react. Something must have gone wrong in the hand signaling, for there was a huge boulder dropping through the air to their position. He quickly tackled Naruto out of the way and asked for him to repeat the process, this time focusing less on the amount chakra used but more on the hand signs. Kakashi opted to stay much closer this time in case a similar event occurred. He knew he could get them out of there if the situation called for it. When Naruto reattempted the technique, Kakashi was puzzled. What's wrong? Aren't you going to try again? He asked. I already have, was the reply. Apparently Naruto had used too little chakra this time and had not moved any mass at all. Alright then, could you try to concentrate somewhere in the middle, while trying to use chakra that is in the middle as well? A look of concentration crossed his features as he thought about what he was required to do. After announcing the jutsu, a small flux in the chakra, and realizing that Naruto had indeed completed the jutsu successfully, albeit with a lot of wasted chakra, but successful nonetheless. With such large reserves at such a young age, it was to be expected that his control over his chakra would be poor. With this in mind, he thought about the final thing that he had to teach Naruto, the bunshin. Kakashi had serious doubts as to whether he would ever be able to get Naruto to learn this technique. Naruto's chakra reserves could be likened to a dam and the dam gates. It was like trying to get only a cup's worth of water from the dam gates while trying to not let any excess water to escape. In other words, impossible. Well, he'd be damned if he didn't try anyway. Naruto, there is one thing that I would like to teach you today. It will create an illusion so it looks like there is more than one of you. However, if you can't get it after a few tries, don't worry, it's not your fault. The hand signs are as follows. For the third time that day, Kakashi demonstrated a set of hand seals, this time for the bunshin. Naruto attempted the bunshin, and as expected, the thing formed for a second before collapsing. As I thought, you have far too much chakra for you to use that technique effectively. Naruto tried to use the jutsu again, only to achieve the exact same results. Now starting to panic that his sensei would not teach him anymore, due to him being unable to make a bunshin, he started trying harder. Recognizing the signs from his body language, Kakashi walked over and out a hand on his shoulder. Naruto flinched at the action, expecting some form of physical punishment for his failure. When none came, he looked up and saw Kakashi looking down at him with genuine concern in his eyes. The flinch had not gone unnoticed. Remember, I said not to worry about it if you couldn't do it, it's not your fault. Hardly daring to believe his luck at someone else being nice to him, particularly after a failure, his eyes started to get moist with tears, though tears of joy at finding another person to add to the very short list of people who he could trust. Come on, let's get you back to the Hokage. We've done enough work for today. Let's head back. In the Hokage's office, Naruto was left to flit about and look at the paintings on the wall in the office while Kakashi talked to the aging Hokage. Well, how was it? The Hokage asked, fully expecting to hear stories of how Naruto really tried his patience when he was far too hyperactive for Kakashi's liking. Imagine his surprise when Kakashi reported back. Very good, actually, it was. Enjoyable. While he might bounce off the walls when he goes through everyday life, when he is being taught something he wants to learn, he seems most attentive. Though I can't imagine him keeping the enthusiasm through one of the more boring academy lectures. The Hokage had to raise his eyebrows. Kakashi had enjoying teaching. What next? His student Jiraiya gave up his perverted ways. There are a few issues I need to discuss with you though, Kakashi informed the cage. Such as, Sarutobi replied, showing that he was intent on listening. His chakra reserves are enormous, almost at Chunin level. To say that Sarutobi was surprised was like saying Tsunade had a slight alcohol addiction problem. Kakashi continued, ignoring the shocked look on his commander's face. It's so large that he can't perform a basic bunshin. I was wondering if you would give me permission to train him in more advanced chakra control techniques. What did you have in mind? Tree walking, if possible. Most of his assailants these days are the villagers. If he can walk up the side of a building and just stay there for a while till we get to him, then there shouldn't be too much hassle in getting him to save himself. It could also lower the body count, as I could arrest the people responsible, instead of having to kill them on the spot in order to punish them, while trying to make haste to get Naruto to the hospital. Sarutobi had to admit Kakashi did bring up some very good points. Very well, just do me a favor, don't turn him into a brilliant shinobi at the cost of turning him into a complete social recluse. I don't want him becoming like the Aburame, or worse yet, like Itachi. Only business and nothing else, no spark of life. I often wonder what it is that the Uchiha did to remove the life from that boy's eyes. Kakashi smiled at the thought. Don't worry, I don't think that there is ever a chance of that happening. Oh, and one last request before you are dismissed. Kakashi stopped himself before he shined out of the place, leaving Naruto with the sandame. Sarutobi chucked a wad of notes at Kakashi. Get him some new clothes. Preferably 2 sets. One dark and another bright. If he can train in stealth in the bright clothes in broad daylight, then he should have no problem in hiding himself in the night with dark clothes on. Kakashi only nodded before taking the Ryu and Naruto in hand and simply walking to the shopping district where they could make their purchases. Just before leaving, he decided to add some information to the lot that he had already reported to the Hokage. By the way, I've taken it upon myself to teach him how to swim. Yes, thank you. That was something I completely overlooked when I was considering what to have you teach him. Arriving at the shopping district, Kakashi was itching to whip out a little orange book and continue reading from where he left off, but reasoning told him otherwise, and he decided that it was for the best that he leave his reading till later. Both Sensei and his late wife had constantly admonished him for reading Jiraiya's smut. Both respected the man as a shinobi of the highest caliber, but would not tolerate the orange book he authored. He somehow felt it would dishonor their memories if he read the book they so heavily protested in front of their son. He decided to simply settle for searching for a shop that would sell the items that he required. The first store that he walked into instantly glared at Naruto before turning to a highly annoyed Kakashi. Is there a problem, shopkeeper-san? Kakashi inquired through a dangerously narrow eye and a voice daring the proprietor to say the wrong thing. I'm sorry, sir, I didn't notice you. I just happened to see that walking behind you. Don't worry, I'll let it out, then we can continue our business, referring to Naruto as though he was some kind of filthy animal. You didn't see me. Me, a man standing some 6 feet tall, yet you noticed the barely 3 feet boy, hiding behind my own legs no less. Kakashi retorted, sarcasm dripping from his voice. Now that he had put it that way, the shop owner realized just how stupid he had made himself look. Not as though it mattered. In any case, my business concerns Naruto, so if you feel that you cannot serve us, we will simply leave, and be sure that no self-respecting shinobi will ever be doing any shopping here. The shopkeeper had only now just realized just how much business he had lost, and was gaping like a fish out of water because of it. Kakashi and Naruto had already left, so there was no chance of repairing the situation. Back out on the street with Naruto and Kakashi, they were looking to find another shop to give their business to. Along the way, they came across a shop called Higurashi Ninja Equipment. He pulled Naruto in and they began walking to the counter. The person behind the counter this time addressed Kakashi first. Good afternoon, how may I serve you today? This was going to be a good way to gauge whether or not they would be shopping here in the future. Kakashi stepped aside to reveal Naruto. Actually, we're here for Naruto, he stated, keeping an eye on the man's reaction the whole time. Sorry, little fella, the shopkeeper said, didn't see you down there. Just the way it should be. Instead of insisting that Naruto was more noticeable than a man he was standing behind, roughly twice his height, thought Kakashi while nodding to himself. Yes, we are looking for some clothes for Naruto, a set of dark clothes and a set of bright clothes. Well, let's take care of the dark clothes first. Name's Keiichi Higurashi, by the way, store owner. No need for you to introduce yourselves, you're both very well known around this city. In short order, Keiichi had picked out a simple dark blue, almost black t-shirt and pair of shorts and given them to Naruto to try on. While in the change rooms, Kakashi asked Keiichi, you evidently recognize Naruto, yet you serve him without any issues. Why so different from the rest of the population here? He asked, not that I'm complaining, of course. Quickly adding the afterthought, Keiichi looked very pointedly at Kakashi and said, I sell katana here, Haddock-san. I can tell the difference between the weapon and the object that prevents us from cutting indiscriminately. Kakashi nodded, understanding the message. It seems that he would be giving the Hokage a recommendation to use this shop in preference to others in the future. At some point through his musing, Naruto had wandered out of the change stall and waited for inspection. Kakashi nodded his approval and decided to move on to the bright clothes. Well, do you have anything in bright colors? Kakashi was doubtful, as there wasn't often a need for ninja to attract attention to themselves, and if there was, there would be far more efficient methods of doing it. Well, the best I have is this jumpsuit, though it's so hideous that I don't think that anyone would ever want to wear it. He took one of the dust-covered suits out from under the counter, displaying what he was talking about. Kakashi could easily see what he was talking about, though it seemed Naruto had found a love greater than ramen. Well, almost. Awesome, I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it, he yelled in excitement. Apparently we are taking the jumpsuit as well as the dark clothes. How much for the lot? Kakashi mused to Keiichi. I'll charge you for the cost of the dark set only this time. I didn't think that I would ever get rid of those jumpsuits. When he grows out of that one, just come back. I have more in larger sizes under the counter that I don't dare display. That settled it in Kakashi's mind. This shop was getting a recommendation to the Hokage, not only serving them in the first place, but inviting them back for subsequent visits. When Naruto and Kakashi walked back into Sarutobai's office, the Sandaime had for a split second thought that the sun had walked through the office doors. When his eyes adjusted to the brightness, he realized it was Naruto in an extremely bright jumpsuit. Realizing that they had gone and completed their shopping trip and that it was now time for Naruto to return to the orphanage, Kakashi informed the Hokage about Keiichi's shop and then proceeded to drop Naruto at the orphanage. After dropping Naruto off to a smiling matron, Kakashi left, the smile from the matron's face disappearing immediately. She hit Naruto across the head before ordering him inside, or else no scraps for him to eat tonight. He scuttled in as fast as he could, not that it would have changed anything. Her mind was already made up and Naruto was getting nothing to eat that night. With nothing to do, he started meditating the way Kakashi-sensei had taught him. He was focusing on brining his chakra out. Before long he was slipping into what had to be a dream. Mindscape. He was walking along a dilapidated corridor that could only be truly described as a sewer. When he came to the end of the passage, he found a giant iron cage, with some funny symbols on a piece of paper attached to the door. Inside he could see an animal thrashing about, a fox, he realized. He tried calling out to it, but it appeared not to hear to him. He tried again, calling louder this time, still achieving no response. In the animal's wild thrashing, it turned to look him, and stared straight through him, as though it wasn't seeing anything all. Puzzled, he didn't pay too much attention as his surroundings slowly started fading into black around him. Then he knew nothing as sleep finally enveloped him. The next morning he had no recollection of any of the strange happening that occurred last night. He simply waited for Kakashi to show so that he could continue his training. He had enjoyed spending time with Kakashi. He paid attention to him long enough, and not the usual kind of attention the villagers paid either. The day's training was spent further practicing what he had learnt yesterday, introducing arms to his swimming. Something that he didn't quite get, as he was having trouble remembering to blow bubbles and move his arms and legs, or he would forget to breathe. Kakashi had told him what he had achieved was good anyway, as the stroke looked good. He just had to remember he wasn't a fish, the inference causing Naruto to giggle. It was then that Kakashi realized that this was the first time he had heard Naruto laugh, not that devious laugh that let him know that a prank was coming, but a genuine laugh from joy. It was something that warmed his heart, something that he vowed to make happen more often. The hand seals and jutsus were also reviewed, though Kakashi intentionally left of the bunshin. Over the weeks, Naruto was introduced to the Academy Taijutsu style, a very basic style, used only to give beginners a foundation on which to build their own techniques if they didn't come from a clan with clan-taught techniques. He was also given a crash course in physical exercise in order to help him move faster and give him a higher stamina, not only in battle, but to outrun the villagers. It was best if he did not attack, though it was fact that he would only be doing so in self-defense. The civilian council took precedence over the shinobi in purely non-shinobi matters. This included punishment of criminals when necessary. It also included adoption when the few who sympathized with Naruto's plight tried to adopt him. They found their every motion blocked. Finally, he was given the stealth training he so desperately needed. He learned about moving in the shadows. He learned about successfully hiding himself. Most importantly, he learned that it was possible to be quiet once in a while, something that appeared to be a gift from the heavens. The most memorable day was quite possibly when Kakashi introduced him to tree climbing. The twist was that Naruto couldn't use his hands. Kakashi had demonstrated as usual, and it had Naruto so excited he tried to charge up the nearest tree. It was amazing that he managed to get 4 paces up the tree, considering that he did not realize that he had to apply chakra to the soles of his feet in order to glue himself to the tree bark. It was some weeks after Naruto had started training with his sensei when Kakashi turned up at the orphanage to pick him up for the day's regimen. When he got there and eagerly awaiting, Naruto was nowhere to be found. Upon asking the matron, she stated, "I kicked him out last night. He's sitting with his eyes closed and had some blue energy flying around him. I couldn't risk the other children's safety in case he was preparing an attack, so I kicked him out." Kakashi was livid. There was a protocol to be followed if there was ever a situation with Naruto, and she had just blown right past it. Right now he couldn't really detain her. It was more important that he found him immediately before anyone tried to harm him. He quickly made 6 cage bunchins, similar to the regular bunchin, but they could interact with their environment while the regulars could not, and when dispelled any info gained would be passed to the user. They went off in pairs, one to look after Naruto should a pair find him, the other to dispel to pass the location to the real Kakashi. It was not long before the real Kakashi had found Naruto huddled in a dumpster in a nearby alleyway. The bunchins were dispelled as Kakashi took Naruto to his house to get cleaned up before taking him to the civilian council. This was the last straw. He was only a boy, only just past his 4th birthday, living out on the streets. There was no way he could live on his own. He was simply too young, and how in hell would he manage to maintain the place, much less find the money to eat and live? He walked into the appropriate sector of the office. The person working on the desk looked up, saw who Kakashi was with, and looked back down just as fast. Kakashi coughed to gain her attention before calmly saying, "I'm here to have Naruto Uzumaki put under my legal guardianship." The woman didn't even bother looking up. "You will have to join the queue." Kakashi couldn't tell if she was trying to be funny, because the room was completely empty. Frankly, he didn't care. He was fed up and he was here to put an end to it. He shot a quick look at Naruto and realized that he was distracted by something outside the door. Kakashi pulled up his Hidaite and said rather forcefully, "Will you at least look at me when you take to me?" When she looked up, she was immediately caught in a genjutsu given off by the sharing an eye in his left socket. "You will get me the forms to fill that will put Naruto under my legal guardianship." She walked off in a zombie-like state, retrieving the forms from a nearby filing cabinet, waiting for Kakashi to finish filling out the forms. After an hour and many miles of red tape, Kakashi and Naruto walked out of the guardianship office, with papers in hand stating that Kakashi was now Naruto's legal guardian. He idly thought that he would have to go and inform the Hokage of the change in both his and Naruto's living arrangements. Naruto, well, he couldn't get over the fact that he had been adopted, and by Kakashi-sensei no less. He was so close to crying tears of joy, you could see the tears well in his eyes. Kakashi finally felt he was on the road to repaying the man he considered a second father. Training Naruto just didn't feel right, it didn't feel enough, but now, he felt being closer to being complete and repaying the debt he felt H had incurred to Minato Namikaze. Issei sat by himself as he ate his lunch on a ledge outside, his face barely any different since his last talk with AI. People who weren't familiar with him didn't think much of it beyond how he wasn't smiling, but those who were saw how it lacked its usual luster that had Vali always been comparing to the sun. "Hey there, Issei." Looking up for a moment, he turned around to see Murayama standing next to him. "Oh, hey there, Murayama," he replied, almost sounding emotionless. "I was wondering if you and I could eat lunch together," she offered, lifting her bento box. Issei didn't respond at first. This made the others, who were watching nearby from behind a large tree, feel a little nervous. Will the fire ignite or extinguish before it even starts? Kiryu wondered aloud. Kade slapped her hand over Kiryu's mouth before giving her a silent shushing motion. The perverted girl nodded her head before Kade pulled it off. "Sure, go ahead," he allowed, thinking she already knew the truth. Murayama let out a sigh of relief and sat by him, with the others doing the same as she reopened her bento box. Glad that worked, she thought. Yes, she must be here to try talking about how sudden it was for Vali to just say goodbye to her and Kade's. He thought, after all, while he may have been Vali's best friend, she and Kade's were also important friends of hers for whenever she needed to do something with other girls, like how he hung out with Madohama and Matsuda whenever he needed to do something with other guys. There's no way she didn't tell them, at least. That's what Issei had been thinking since they said their own goodbyes. "Any reason you wanted to eat with me?" Issei inquired, glancing at her. "I just wanted to talk, that's all. Although, what I'd like to talk with you about is, well, you might not want to," but Murayama replied. "Murayama," Issei said, a confused look on his face. "Ever since last week, you haven't been yourself. What happened to make you act this way?" she begged, grabbing Issei's shoulders. The others all facepalmed from a distance, since the way she asked him may have just cost them answers, while Kiryu struggled not to laugh at how blunt she had been. However, the moment he heard those words, Issei's face widened as he dropped his chopsticks, which is when Kiryu's laughter died. Guys, is it just me, or does Issei look surprised at that question?" she mentioned. Kade and the guys looked closer, seeing his reaction. "Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't he be panicking or scared?" Matsuda remarked. "I agree, there's no way he should be surprised." Madohama nodded. However, that's when his glasses slid down a bit to show his eyes widening as a certain though came into his head. That is, unless he realized. However, he didn't have time to finish speaking, as that was when Issei chose to answer Murayama's question. "You mean, she didn't tell you, or Kade's?" he asked, staring in disbelief. Murayama looked confused, as did Kade's, who felt a lump in her throat. Madohama felt sweat drip down his face as he realized how close his guess would be to reality. The question now is, what did Issei believe the girl should already know? "Know what? Issei, what are you trying to say?" Murayama asked with a fearful tone. At that moment, Issei lowered his head. Drip, right as Murayama saw tears fall onto the ground, causing her to notice Issei was crying before he lifted his head up. Despite how reluctant he was to tell AI about what happened, Murayama was one of Vali's friends, so she deserved to know, regardless of why she didn't tell her. "By any chance is Kade's nearby?" "I don't want to have to say this more than once if I can." he said, feeling his voice crack. Murayama slowly turned her head, looking at the others. Come on out, she sighed. Issei soon saw Kades walk out, with Matsuda, Madohama, and Kuryu all following her. The idea was, if you talked, we might be able to help comfort you better with a larger presence of friends, Murayama explained. Oh, so I'm finally considered one of your friends. Kuryu smirked. Don't push it, Kades replied. She shrugged with a big smile. All right then, here's the big news, so be ready to. Issei began. Right at that moment, he began crying loud enough that everyone heard it and looked their way. Emotional cry. Nada, we heard him cry, Murayama announced, waving her hands. She's gone, Issei cried, putting his hands over his eyes. This made his friends look at him in confusion. Look here, he sniffles, reaching under his shirt collar for a certain something underneath it. The sight of his necklace came into view, causing all of them, sans Kuryu, to feel their eyes widen as they recognized one of the necklaces they helped give Issei the idea to make. Wait, if you're wearing that before Christmas and saying that she's gone, then, Kades realized. I am. Vali and her family moved out of Kyoto Town last week, he confirmed, which caused him to break down in tears again. Kades just stared as her bento box fell out of her hands, right as Kuryu's eyes widened. Oh my god, you were the mystery screamer from last week, she realized. Madohama lightly slapped the back of his hand on her shoulder, making her clear her throat. She moved away, and didn't tell us, Murayama screamed, putting her hands on her head. Issei sniffled and hiccuped a little. I thought she told you like all of me, but she did seem like she was in a hurry. Maybe she only found out right before she told me, and I was the only one she could give a proper goodbye, he mentioned. Hearing that, she and Kades nodded their heads. Yeah, that makes sense, Kades agreed. Still wish I had gotten to say goodbye, though no wonder you've lost your usual, Murayama added. No sun comparisons right now, please, Issei begged, wiping his tears with his arm. Matsuda sat to the left of him. Sorry we didn't talk to you sooner, it would have probably helped if we had. He apologized, putting an arm over Issei's shoulder. Yeah, especially since I'm predicting a certain reaction to happen in 3, 2, 1. Madohama agreed, looking towards the kendo duo. The two hugged each other as Vali's absence from Kyoto Town finally hit them. Wow, that was impressive. Kuryu praises, mildly impressed. Never thought I'd hear the day you gave me a compliment, Madohama remarked. After a bit, Issei felt himself use up all of his tears. Think you'll be all right? He asked. No idea. My sister said that there's always a chance I'll see her again, but there's no way to be sure of that, Issei replied. He soon got up, taking his bento box with him. I need to be alone, he stated. Matsuda, Madohama, and Kuryu all saw him walk off and then looked at each other as the kendo duo kept crying in the background. Will he be okay? This sounds really bad, Matsuda asked. My mom is a therapist, and I'm fairly sure that this is a coping mechanism to deal with the loss. He's not going to feel better until something fills in the void of Vali leaving, Kuryu replied. The boy's eyes widened. Exactly, that's a big void to fill. The only other option is the long way of waiting until the pain goes away, she continued. She and Madohama sat down with Matsuda, letting out a sigh. At the school's main office, a staff member gave a big, yet silent yawn. Right as Irina opened the door and ran inside. The staff member jumped up as any drowsiness they had disappeared, right as they saw Irina's panting form. Wow, never seen such a healthy-looking student be so late for class. You have a late note from the health police. Maybe the non-sickness society. They joked in cynical tone. Hearing that, Irina let out a laugh that made the staff member stare at them with a weirded-out expression. Good joke there. But no, I'm a new student. My family and I just arrived at the house we bought. Just because it's late doesn't mean I'm gonna skip my first day here, Irina clarified. The staff keeper's eyes widened before they took a deep breath. Oh my god, that kind of student has finally become a living nightmare, they whispered under their breath. Irina tilted her head as they took her paper, reading it over as they pressed a button. Hey, we got that new student who signed up a few days ago. Mind getting someone here who can lead them to her teacher's room? Preferably now, they asked. As they said this, they saw the girl praying as she held her cross in her hands. Dear Lord, please make my first day of school be a great one, Irina prayed. He hasn't given me a better job, they muttered. Irina turned as she heard that, forcing them to give a big grin so she wouldn't suspect anything. The lunch period soon came to an end. However, the one difference in the classroom was everyone now knew the reason behind why Issei was acting like he was. As their teacher walked into the room, she cleared her throat. Everyone, before we resume class, I have some surprising and exciting news to share, which is, she grated. She hit her desk to mimic a drum roll. We have a new student, she revealed. That caught everyone's attention, with even Issei showing some interest. And here she is, she continued, motioning to the door. Issei and his classmates all saw Irina walk into view. Once she got to the board, she wrote down her name in both kanji and British English. Hello everyone, my name is Irina Shido, it's a pleasure, she greeted with a smile. A lot of the boys felt their cheeks go red at that, with Issei simply staring at the English spelling and noticing he could somehow understand it. Weird, how is it that I can read that? He wondered. So, does anyone have questions for Miss Shido? Their teacher asked. Everyone began to raise their hands. Miss, I'm from England, so would it be too much trouble for you call me by my first name? Irina requested. Cadis lowered her hand as Irina had just answered her question. Oh, my apologies. I'm not exactly used to it. It might take a while before it sinks in, but I can definitely give it a try. The teacher apologized, rubbing the back of her head. Thank you. Irina smiled. She then looked at the class, pointing towards Matsuda. What made you transfer here? He asked. My dad worked at the Vatican, but offered to work in a less staffed church, so we moved to Japan because that's where he met my mom. She answered. Irina then pointed at Murayama. Is your last name English or Japanese? She asked. My dad took my mom's surname, so it's actually Japanese, but you could mistake it as an English one due to how British English works. Irina answered. That left some of the students confused. America drops the U in words that use U and replaces the C of other words with Z with their form of spelling. She explained. Everyone nodded their head in understanding. Just as Irina was about to answer another question. That will be all the questions for now. To those who still have any, feel free to ask them after class is finished. The teacher intervened. Most of the students groaned in disappointment. Irina, you can have the empty seat next to Issei, she said, pointing to him. Irina shifted her focus to locate him, showing some surprise as she saw his face. She blinked. Whatever her thoughts were, she quickly pushed them away as she sat herself at the desk next to Issei's, then offered him her hand. Hi. Irina smiled. Issei said nothing and then looked at their teacher, making Irina blink in response. She did the same before giving him another glance. Back at the Hanjima shrine, the sight of Shuri could be seen as she looked over a torii gate within the shrine, rather than its entrance. Looks like the gate is functioning like it usually does, she stated. As she turned to look over another part of her shrine, the space within the torii gate suddenly glowed, making her eyes widen as she saw someone walk through it without any warning. It didn't take long before whoever was using it walked through, and Shuri's eyes widened as she recognized the samurai who served Surzech. He was a man who looked to be in his late 20s that wore a traditional Shisengumi uniform, which consisted of a light blue haori that had sleeves trimmed and hakama over a kimono, with a white cord called a tasuki crossed over the chest and tied in the back. That appearance, Shuri stuttered, pointing at him. He looked at the shrine maiden and gave a slight bow in response. A pleasure to meet you, madam. I hope you can disregard my unauthorized visit, but my master asked me to arrive here discreetly for a certain mission. The famed samurai apologized. Shuri felt her eyes widen slightly at those words, and right as the samurai was about to disappear and begin his mission. I think I may know what you're talking about, if you're willing to hear me out, she offered. The samurai turned his head towards her, raising an eye at that. Well, at least I assume that 2 certain deaths might be related to it, Shuri mentioned. Hearing that, the samurai fully turned around, realizing he found someone who had information and wouldn't lie to him. It was pure luck on his end, but even he knew that Shuri was someone he could trust. All right, I'm listening, he responded. How about we come inside and talk? It would be rude for me to not offer a guest some tea, Shuri suggested. The samurai nodded his head, catching the double meaning of her words as they went inside for tea and talking. Hours passed until the school day finally ended, with the scene opening to everyone in Issei's class asking Irina the questions their teacher cut off to start her next lesson. Does England really have a bunch of tea? A male student asked. Somewhat, though everyone liking it is a stereotype. Irina answered. How about the way you speak? Did you practice before moving, or is it because of your heritage? A female student asked. Irina let out an awkward laugh in response. Not sure how to answer that one, she admitted. As this continued, Issei just stared at their interactions. Say, where do you live? The same boy asked. If I remember my new address right, I live at. Irina answered, revealing the area. Her answer caused a few people to show surprise, with Issei feeling his eyes widen. Did she just say? Matsuda realized. She totally did. Kades confirmed. With those words, Issei got out of his seat and silently began walking home, leaving Irina confused. Is he okay? Irina asked. No one tried to answer, though Kiryu felt an idea hit her and walked up to her. Yeah, he's just a little nervous to hear you're the new neighbor he's been expecting. Maybe you should walk home with him and break the ice, she suggested. Everyone let out silent gasps as Irina nodded her head in understanding. That makes sense. I'll go do that right now, she decided as she smiled. She began running after him, with everyone turning to look at Kiryu as if she was crazy, though Murayama took it a step further and grabbed her by the shoulders. What were you thinking? Murayama questioned. That maybe she might push hard enough that it will bring Issei out of his funk. As much as waiting might help, this could last for so long that it's just as bad to do nothing. Kiryu answered. And what if this backfires? Madohama inquired. If that happens, then you can blame me, since I suggested the idea in the first place, she replied. Murayama let her go, sitting down as she tried to take a deep breath to calm her nerves. This was around the same time that Irina caught up to Issei, seeing him from a distance before she began a sprint and waved towards him. Hey Issei, Irina shouted. Hearing her voice, he turned around to see her and immediately began running. Wait, I'm almost there, she called. Leave me alone, Issei screamed. Before anyone knew it, they were playing a town-sized game of chase, with the screams of Issei helping many to realize who last week's mysterious screamer was. though for right now, the sight of this chase was what everyone was focusing on. Meanwhile, in Shuri and Akino's home, the samurai was seen sitting at the table with them as Shuri poured him some tea. Once she took her seat to his left, Akino looked at her mother. "Mama, who is this?" Akino asked, not recognize the famous samurai. "Forgive my rudeness, young one. My name is Souji Akita, and I'm what's known as a samurai," he answered, revealing his identity. Akino didn't know about this legendary man and just tilted her head in response. "My apologies. She's still a bit too young to know about that part of Japanese history, so I don't think she'll recognize you," Shuri explained. Souji nodded as Akino just blinked in confusion. "So, you claim that you have actual information on what really happened to Masayami and Cleria?" Souji asked. "More than that, I can confirm that Masayami was indeed killed, but not by execution. At least, I'm sure that's not what you call it when someone dies to save someone else from an assassin who had already killed their parents," Shuri revealed. Hearing that made Souji's eyes widen, shocked at what he heard. "As for Cleria, she's still alive right now as far as I'm aware, but she and her peerage had to flee with the daughter Masayami gave his life to let her rescue. I can't say much more than that because of things Cleria couldn't tell me and what's occurred since they went there. All I know is that there are people who want both the girl she's protecting and herself to be completely erased from this world," she continued. Hearing all of this, Souji managed to piece some things together, and he didn't like the things he had connected. Now it all makes sense. At least, it will if what she said implies what I think it does, Souji thought, sighing a little. "I hope the information I shared helps you," Shuri stated. "Oh, it definitely helped me. In fact, this is something I need to share with my master right now, so I must be returning before I risk any sketchy characters learning of what you told me," he replied, getting back to his feet. He gave them a bow. "Until we meet again, gatekeeper of Kyuubi," he said with gratitude. Souji left the house as Akino looked at him with noticeable confusion. "Mama, what was he talking about?" she asked. "Something you aren't ready to know about," Shuri answered, looking a little scared. Luckily, she managed to hide it from her curious daughter. The chase between Irina and Issei continued on for a while, causing the sky to turn orange as the duo kept running without any signs of getting tired. Both of their families noticed them run by at one point, making both show confusion at the sight. At a certain point in the chase, Issei managed to catch his breath and take a break as he managed to find himself in Kyuubi's forest area. Finally, "There's no way she'll find me in here without getting lost," he thought aloud, knowing she wouldn't be familiar with its layout. Feeling the fatigue finally hit him, Issei felt his legs wobble, letting out a tired groan as he used the trees to support himself and walk ahead as a precaution. Due to how tired he was, his body only got as far as finding the spot he and Vali had first met. Upon arriving at this area, he only then realized nightfall had arrived and saw a similar starry sky to the one he and Vali met at. He even saw Venus among the stars. "It almost feels like fate is mocking me right now," Issei sighed as he sat himself down. "Ah, there you are," Irina exclaimed. Issei's eyes widened as he saw Irina run towards him, holding his hands out in disbelief as the tired church girl finally stopped before him and caught her breath. "Never thought that I'd meet someone my age in Japan who could move like you do," she praised between breaths. Lowering his head, Issei began to shake as he felt a second emotion join the sadness he had been enduring in the last week. Hey, are you okay?" she asked. "Leave me alone already," he screamed. Irina nearly fell over from that, surprised by his screams, and his face, which he had lifted to show was now full of anger. Anger that froze her in place. "Why are you so insistent on following me? You don't even know me, and yet you just try to waltz right in without any consent from me or probably anyone else. If that wasn't bad enough, you moved into her house, rubbing it in even more as if you want to replace her," he continued screaming. Her house, Irina thought. At that moment, Irina finally noticed his sun necklace, causing her eyes to widen as she started to understand the meaning of his words. "Well, guess what? You can't. In fact, you won't ever replace her no matter what you do. Now, just leave me alone already," he demanded. Irina didn't say anything for about half a minute, and then, "My home used to belong to someone who was your best friend, didn't it?" "I understand how you feel," she replied. "You don't. There's no way you could understand how it feels to see your best friend go away." "Never," he shouted. He began to breathe heavily as tears flowed from his eyes. "Actually, I do understand how it feels, because I had to leave my best friend too," Irina admitted, tears starting to form in her eyes. Those words caused Issei's anger to fade, making her stare at Irina in surprise. "My father chose to relocate us, despite his job didn't require him to. And yet, he still did. I was really upset to hear that I'd be leaving my best friend behind. It hurt really bad since we had always lived in England, and I had no say or influence in stopping it," she continued. Hearing this, Issei slumped on his stump. "I'm the real jerk, aren't I?" he realized. Irina walked up to him, sitting on the stump beside him as she pet his head. "Hey, it's all right. I didn't even know any of that. Although, maybe that girl with the glasses must have saw this coming when she told me to follow you," Irina reassured him. Hearing that made Issei lift his head up, feeling a flat expression form on his face. "Damn it, Kyuubi," he loudly groaned. After saying that, he began to sniffle as the dam of his emotions broke once more, and he felt himself unable to hold back the words. We first met in this spot 6 years ago. Both of us could even see Venus in the sky like right now," he revealed, pointing to the orange dot. Irina looked, but decided not to say she couldn't find it. However, she did recognize the symbol on his necklace. That explains the astrological sun symbol charm you have. Does she have her own? Irina asked. Issei sniffled before nodding his head. She has an astrological moon symbol. I made both as her Christmas present, but gave it to her early when she moved away last week. Now, I feel like it's an impossible dream to see her again, he answered. Once she heard that, Irina tapped Issei's shoulder to get his attention. He turned to look at her, then screamed as she gave his forehead a strong flick, making him hold the sore spot on his noggin. Oh, why did you? He questioned. It will be if you keep thinking like that, Irina shouted, suddenly making a stern face as she frowned at him. Seeing her frown was such a surprise. Issei couldn't say a word. When I had to say goodbye to Zenobia, the one thing we promised each other before I left was no matter what it took, we would definitely meet each other again. It doesn't matter how impossible it seems to us that we may never meet again, because to me, the moment we give up is the moment that becomes a reality. No, it's thinking exactly that way that will keep us from reuniting, Irina shouted with strong passion. The moment he heard those words, Issei felt his eyes widen as he briefly saw a young volley through her, reminding him of a time she had scolded him over sliding down a hill using a metal tray. Without him even realizing it, the cold feeling that had been forming around his heart began to shake as if it were starting to crack. He then continued listening to Irina, almost as if something was subconsciously making him listen to her words. Both of you were separated from one another, and yes, that hurts more than anything. However, that doesn't mean you can't do anything. If you truly fight for it, and try to find a way to reconnect even when you're worlds apart from one another, then one day, the two of you will see each other again, because you never gave up on trying to find each other. She continued, smiling as a tear left her eye. Promise me that, one day, we'll see each other again. Issei's voice echoed. Issei gasped as he remembered what he said last week, and then, no matter how far apart we are or where we end up, the two of us will always be friends, because we share the same sky. Issei's voice echoed. He then held up his sun charm with his right hand, which then gleamed as if to answer him. All this time I've just been standing here and doing nothing except cry, just accepting what happened as if it was an absolute result. He realized. Issei wiped his eyes and showed a determined look. No more, it's time that I stop crying, Issei exclaimed, standing on his feet. Looking at his expression, Irina showed some surprise before smiling at him. There you go, she smiled. Insert song end. Thank you, he replied. Out of nowhere, he gave her a hug, surprising Irina before she smiled and returned it. It didn't take long for Issei to lead Irina home, as she did end up getting lost after finding him. Thanks for helping me find my way back, she smiled. After what you did for me, it was the least that I could do, but before I head home myself, he replied. He held out his hand towards Irina as a fist. To make sure I never lose myself again. I think someone like you needs to keep reminding me to never stop shining like the sun, so, will you be my friend? Issei asked. Hearing that, Irina's eyes widened as she heard that. Yeah, I'd love to, Irina answered, crying happy tears. Thank you, Issei replied. Irina held out her own hand as a fist and bumped it against his, then went inside her house, where a big lecture awaited her, one that Issei knew he'd be getting as well. Still, now I feel confident about the future, and, he thought, feeling the wind blow his hair a bit, he looked towards the sky as he finally felt something return to his face. That you and I will see each other again like we promised, so wait for me, Volley, Issei said with a big smile. He soon ran back home. Because I'm never giving up, he thought, lifted his necklace towards the sky. As he held his necklace up, Volley did the same. December 25, 2017, unknown location. Back in the office area of Surzech, he was seen yawning over the apparently slow day, just barely managing to notice Grafia walking in with some tea. Here, this should wake you up, Grafia stated. I don't think we've had a workday this quite since the Season 4 finale of Serafal's show grabbed everyone's attention, Surzech replied before sipping it. As he did, a magic circle appeared, dropping Ria's letter in front of them. What the? He noticed. Seeing their daughter had addressed it to them, Surzech tore it open and they began to read it. MINDSCAP. She had dropped the bomb. Ray had told Naruto why she came to his world in the first place. She was to be his companion for the eternity that he lived. Naruto was not sure what to feel. He had just been told that he was immortal. What should he feel? Joy. Joy at being able to never die. Fear. The fear of being alone after all his friends had gone. How? Was all he could weakly ask. I don't know. All I know is that you are immortal. You're lying. The statement aroused Ray's curiosity. How did you come to that conclusion? Confused as to what possible logic he could have used to make such a statement. You said that you were to be my companion as I was immortal. If that were true, you would have only appeared on the exact day of my birth, but you were around for weeks before I was even born. Therefore, if I was not alive there would be no way for you to tell whether I was immortal. That is incorrect. I appeared on the day of your hastening, she said as though it explained everything. Hastening? What do you mean? What is that? He asked, not understanding her explanation in the least. The time of hastening is when the soul of the baby enters the body. This happens on the last day of the 26th week of gestation. It is for this reason that it is considered a crime to kill an unborn baby beyond this point. You are effectively committing murder, and nothing can be more innocent than an unborn child. From this point on, the baby is considered truly alive as it houses a soul, and this is how we were able to tell that you were immortal. I see. I apologize. Well, what happens now? Nothing. You simply live your life however way you want to. You can take risks that most would never consider, though using caution is always advised. Ray counseled. Caution? What for? I'm invincible. Naruto asked. You are not invincible, only immortal. As such you can still be defeated, or have you so swiftly forgotten what the Yondaime did to me? Ray responded in a very sharp manner. I understand, Naruto replied, somewhat sobered by the reality check that he was given. Naruto, we have discussed everything that I needed to discuss with you. Even if you have further questions, I don't feel as though I would have answers for you. Besides, it's almost time for you to wake up. We can talk later. Real world. Naruto woke up and looked around his bedroom rather groggily. Was that all a dream? He asked himself. It was no dream, Naruto. Every bit of it was as real as the bed you are sitting on. Ray, how is it I'm able to hear you? I'm not by the seal anymore. Naruto asked, a little shocked. We have always shared a mental connection, though I was never in any state to use it. At the moment it is rather weak. I'm actually shouting at you and your voice is rather faint. With time the connection will grow stronger and we will be able to hear each other quite clearly, and you won't have to actually talk to for me to hear, only think of what you are saying. All this will happen in time, she explained. Should I tell Aniki? He asked. I wouldn't, not until you, at least there is a need to tell him. There isn't any good that could come by informing him, she advised. Kakashi was already out. Naruto had assumed that he had gone to his day job as a Hokage's guard. It was something that always made Naruto laugh, the most powerful ninja in the village hiring guards. More like he used the ANBU that guarded him as a personal messenger service. Not bothering to check the time, Naruto left the house to head for the academy. He still tried to beat his best time every time he went there, as Kakashi had suggested all those years ago. He had started out at 15 minutes to get there on his first day. It was now his goal to break the 5-minute mark, something that Kakashi could do without even thinking. He went to his regular classroom, to find that nearly the whole class had passed the exam. He cast a look around the room. There had to be at least 30 people in the room. He walked over to his gang. All 11 other members were already present. Sasuke, Shikamaru, Choji, and Kiba were all discussing the potential team compositions. Shino and Sai, another boy who had joined their group over the years, were not contributing to the discussion, opting to listen instead. Hinata, Ino, and Sakura were discussing potential Jounin Sensei appointments. Ami and Masao, another two that joined the gang after the Sasuke changed his attitude and became more amenable to approach, opted to only listen as they didn't have anything to contribute. Both came from civilian families. Sakura did as well, but there was something to be said for having your mother as head of the civilian council. Naruto greeted them all with simple good morning, before choosing to listen to snippets of both conversations. Not really feeling like joining in this morning, he had a lot to think about. He wasn't given long to contemplate anything as his friends broke into his thoughts. It was Hinata that had spoken first. Naruto-kun, is it true you stole the forbidden scroll a few days ago? Father came home and mentioned that you were not far from being executed for such a crime. Well, it is true, but I only did it because Mizuki failed me on the exam. One thought went simultaneously through all of his friends' heads. Bunshin no Jutsu. He told me that it was an extra exam and that it was a stealth test. Well, I took it. Kakashi Oniichin trained me in stealth from a very young age. It should have been a piece of cake. Well, it was actually. I got the scroll really easily. When I was supposed to meet Mizuki, he tried to kill me and take the scroll. Iruka-sensei took the hit from the Fuma Shuriken. He was in no condition to fight, and when I saw him injured, I snapped. I knocked the stuffing out of him. Naruto purposefully left out the part where he ran away, mentioning that would bring questions about why he ran away. He didn't feel like telling his friends about the Kyuubi being sealed within him. How did you beat Mizuki? He is a Chunin. This was Shino now adding his thoughts. Simple, I knew jutsu. Naruto answered. Here, watch. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto exclaimed while forming a cross-shaped seal with his hands. Immediately 5 Narutos popped up in a cloud of smoke. His friends were amazed when they each picked up an item in the classroom just to emphasize that they could interact with their environment. Their amazement was short-lived as the clones were dispelled when Iruka walked in. Right, I don't have much to say, simply good luck in embarking on your ninja pathway. Now for the team announcements. This was the part that everyone was waiting for, finding out who their teammates were and who was going to be their Jounin Sensei. Team 1 will be Sai Komatsu, Ino Yamanaka, and Ami Tanaka. Jounin Sensei will be Anko Mitarashi. Team 2 will be. The group decided to let their attention wander until they heard another name that they actually cared about. A short while later they had their interest piqued as the herd. Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Sakura Haruna will comprise Team 7 with Kakashi Hadake as Jounin Sensei. Team 8 will be Kiba and Yuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Aburame. Jounin Sensei is Kuranai Yuyui. Team 9 is still in circulation from last year, so Team 10 will be Shikamaru Nara, Masao Makamachi, and Choji Akamichi. Jounin Sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. As the Jounin Sensei's names were announced, they entered the room either by Sunshin, or by the conventional methods, like through the window or dropping from the roof. There was only one oddball that decided to use the door. They counted only 8 Jounin Sensei, one was missing. Naruto automatically knew what to expect when his brother was announced as his sensei. The others got up and went off with their senseis, presumably to get to know not only their senseis but their teammates as well. Well, we've got a bit of time to kill before our sensei shows up. What are we going to do? Naruto asked, so they wouldn't be bored stiff for 2 hours. How do you know that we have any time at all? Sakura asked, confused that he could be so sure of a person before he had met them. I live with Kakashi. If it's not in a ranked mission or higher or a meeting with the Hokage, he shows up 2 hours late. So what are we going to do while we kill time? May as well train, nothing too hard. Perhaps chakra control exercises, or maybe light sparring. It was Sasuke to suggest the pastime. Light sparring sounds good to me. I hate chakra control exercise. Naruto cast his vote. I'm fine with whatever, so long as we pass the time in a way better than sitting around. Sakura put in her 2 cents worth. They took to the academy schoolyard and held something of a round robin where each person fought the other 2 at least once and tried to fight the 2 others in a tag team as well. They continued for quite a while until Kakashi shunshined into the arena and called them to sit by the swing in the yard. Kakashi sat on the swing while his 3 students lazed around on the floor around him, tired from their sparring. It's good you can use your time productively even when not being instructed to do so, but why don't I get straight to the point? My name is Kakashi Haddock, I am to be your Jounin sensei. Why don't you introduce yourselves? Kakashi greeted them. It is only polite that we know something about you before we go spilling anything about ourselves, especially when you asked. It was Sakura that made the point. She wasn't sure how she was supposed to introduce herself, but found a better way of saying I don't get what you want to know. Alright then, as you know, my name is Kakashi Haddock. My likes include reading, he said with a slight pause in his sentence. I don't really have any dislikes, no real hobbies to mention, only training and my dream for the future, well that's rather personal. By the end of the introduction, Sasuke and Sakura hadn't really learned that much, only Naruto had some inkling about their sensei, and even that wasn't a great deal. Sakura volunteered to go next. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like reading, training, and getting stronger. I dislike people who underestimate me. Hobbies include training and reading. I don't really have a dream for the future. Sakura faltered slightly at the end. Don't worry, with time you may develop one. If you share with us in the future, we will try to help you along your path. Kakashi counseled. For a laid-back guy, he really did come out with some pearls of wisdom once in a while. Sasuke went next to fill in the silence that followed Kakashi's minor speech. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I like training, learning new jutsu, and tomatoes. Nobody was expecting that from one of the most stoic people that they knew and proceeded to face fault. My dislikes include arse kissers and fangirls. My dream for the future, well I have 2. The first is to resurrect the Uchiha clan. The second is to work hard, so that when I meet my brother, I can look him the eye as an equal, not the one desperately trying to catch up. Kakashi nodded. Admirable aspirations, Kakashi thought to himself. He had expected Sasuke to start talking about avenging the Uchiha clan, but instead he wants to live up to his brother's name. With the attitude that he currently has, anything is possible. Next came Naruto, the one Kakashi knew the most about, yet he let him do the introduction anyway. This was as much for the teammates as it was for the Jounin sensei. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes include ramen, training, and my older brother. Kakashi smiled at this. My dislikes include the time it takes for ramen to cook, people who judge before they even give you a chance, and my older brother's tardy ways. My dream for the future is to be Hokage. Right, so I have a potentially powerful kunoichi that is yet undirected, a boy that wants to resurrect his lost clan and be seen equal to the greatest of his clan, and one who wants to be recognized as the strongest in the village. This team has massive potential. Kakashi made his assessment in his head, unknowingly smiling at the team makeup. Well, now the introductions are over, I have a few notices. The first is that I want us all to meet at Training Ground 7 for a survival test. Before you ask, you don't need to bring any supplies other than a basic ninja side pouch. After all, it is me you are going to survive from. And by the way, I wouldn't eat if I were you. Kakashi watched with a sick grin as all of his students' faces twisted in horror, particularly Naruto, as he knew just how powerful Kakashi was. Well, if you don't have any questions, then I'm going to make myself scarce. He promptly shunshined out of there before another word was said. Sasuke and Sakura were about to leave when Naruto called out to them. Hold on, you two. I just want to tell you that you should eat something tomorrow. Naruto advised. He said not to eat anything. Sakura deadpanned. Think of that more like advice. Besides, I know how powerful he is. Fighting against him is asking for trouble. Doing so on an empty stomach is suicide. With his message passed on, Naruto left the academy, Sasuke and Sakura following suit shortly after. When arriving home, Naruto found Kakashi making dinner, ramen for a change. This always put Naruto in a good mood. Naruto approached his older brother and carefully asked his question. Aniki, today's introductions reminded me of something you told me many years ago. You said that when I knew my dream for the future you would tell me yours. Will you still tell me? Kakashi looked at his little brother and realized that he had indeed said that all those years ago. My dream, there isn't much to it, though you will understand it a lot better later on. My dream is to convince several people to return to the village. Kakashi confided. You're right, I don't get it. Maybe someday I will. Maybe when I meet these people. Naruto replied. He didn't want to think about it for too long. After all, he had to get ready for tomorrow. Surviving his older brother will be no easy task. The next morning Kakashi was awoken by a very loud shout. "Yosh! Kakshi, wake up. Naruto tells me you are planning on being late for your first true team meeting. This is most unyouthful." There beside Minato was his young protege and carbon copy, Rock Lee. In an equally loud voice he screamed, "Nsei is right. You are being most unyouthful. It is very unyouthful to act in an unyouthful way." That made no sense whatsoever, Kakashi thought groggily. Oh, who cares, it's only Naruto anyway. Through the directions of a certain aging Hokage, Naruto had discovered that to get Kakashi to be on time all you had to do was hand in Tomato Guy or his student and Kakashi would be where you want him in a flash. "Kai!" Kakashi exclaimed. The image of Guy and Lee did not disappear. "Kai!" He tried again only for the same result. "Yosh! Kakashi, stop with this unyouthful behavior. You must get to your team immediately." Guy boomed at top volume. The cogs were turning in Kakashi's head rather slowly. If the release technique doesn't work, then it must either be a really powerful henge or genjutsu, that or GGGHHH double exclamation mark double exclamation mark double exclamation mark double exclamation mark double exclamation mark. Kakashi let out a scream of pure terror that could be heard all over Konoha. In a certain training ground, a blonde laughed at the sound of the scream, while his two teammates just gave him a funny look, not getting the joke. The real Guy and Lee in my house, in my room, while I was asleep, defiling my humble abode with speeches of youthfulness. Kakashi thought quite wildly to himself. He bolted, got dressed as fast as he could and shunshine to training grounds. Guy had not seen his eternal rival move so fast in all his time knowing him. At the training grounds, Kakashi suddenly appeared in a swirl of leaves. He gained his bearings and found Naruto. Pointing an accusing finger at the blonde, he practically screamed, You're evil. How could you do such a thing to your beloved Aniki of all people? I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy." "Well, maybe you'll learn to be on time from now on," Naruto replied with a very large grin about his face. "You will get yours, don't you worry, Naruto," Kakashi threatened almost maniacally. "Well, now that we are all here, I have a test. This is to see if you will remain genin, or whether you will attend the academy for an entire year more before becoming genin. The test is simple to pass. All you have to do is obtain one of the bells from my waist." To make them realize exactly what bells he was talking about, he jingled them to draw their attention to the tiny bells attached to a sting. "You have until lunchtime to acquire them. Begin." Upon his command, they all disappeared into the dense woodland nearby. "Well, they can all hide quite well. Naruto should have no problem, but the other two surprised me," Kakashi thought out aloud. Elsewhere, Naruto was sitting with Sasuke and Sakura. "We have to take him as a trio. It's the only way we are going to get those bells of his waist," he surmised. "What about the one who will go back when we get the bells?" Sakura asked, worried about having to go through the academy again. Sasuke spoke up this time. Think about what he said. Never once did he address us individually. He only said that to pass we had to obtain one of the bells on his waist. It's like a guarding mission, just in reverse. 3 people working together to protect a client. One person might take on any assailants while the other 2 are hanging back to take any that get through the initial blockade. Which one is the one completing the mission objective? All of them, even though they have different roles. Well, at least that's how I hope that he is seeing it. Naruto nodded in understanding. Well, I have a plan. It was hours later, only 30 minutes before the end of the test, and the trio had yet to make a move. All of a sudden Kakashi sensed some movement and saw Naruto clones en masse. Well, this is my chance to get even, Kakashi thought to himself as he watched the mass of orange approach. He tore into the mass, dispelling clones left, right, and front. As he was fighting, the real Naruto snuck up behind him and latched on, holding Kakashi in place. "Like you always said, Sensei, never let your opponent get behind you," Naruto advised, thinking about all the advice Kakashi had ever given him. "You know what? You're absolutely right, Naruto, but you would do well to listen to your own advice," Kakashi replied before poofing out of existence. The real Kakashi was behind Naruto, blurring through a set of hand seals ending in the Tora. Instead of announcing a Katen Jutsu as Sasuke and Sakura expected, he proceeded to jam his fingers up Naruto's backside, sending him flying. While wincing in pain for their blonde teammate's misfortune, a genjutsu was laid by Sakura. It simply showed Sasuke attempting to engage Kakashi in a taijutsu match. They figured it would be only moments before Kakashi worked out that it was a genjutsu. It was in this time that Sasuke would rush out as well, and attempt to steal the bells while his sensei was still caught in the jutsu. A rather simple plan. Then again, some of the simplest plans often work the best. The only hitch was the timing necessary on both Sakura and Sasuke's part. If Sakura laid the genjutsu too early, it would be noticed and swiftly dispelled. Too late, and Sasuke would run out and gain the full attention of their sensei, thus wasting Naruto's noble sacrifice. Should Sasuke run out before the genjutsu was placed, then he would have to deal with a very powerful ninja with his full concentration on him. Too late, and he would miss the narrow window of opportunity that Sakura had given him. Both parts were timed perfectly. The only problem was that his bells were so small that there was nothing to grab onto while he was fighting a genjutsu. Sasuke made his decision. He grabbed not only the bells but a handful of Kakashi's ANBU style pants and indiscriminately ripping the both of them away. Without part of his waistband holding up his pants, the rest of his kit fell to the ground, revealing floral design boxers. Sakura turned red. Sasuke was dumbstruck, though nobody could work out if it was because of his sensei's choice in underwear or simply because he was faced with a pants-off Kakashi. Naruto, for his part, was trying to laugh. "Well, that's what you get for sticking your fingers up my arse," he taunted his older brother. A second later the time went off, signaling midday had arrived and that the test was officially over. Kakashi gathered his students for some feedback. "Very good, all of you all pass." And Sasuke, "Very good reasoning on why I should let you pass." All three looked utterly perplexed. Nobody had spoken yet. "What? You think that I didn't know where you were from the start? You guys may be talented for genin, but there is a reason I am a jounin." Sakura was the first to catch on. "Wait, if you knew what we were going to do you could have stopped it and we would have never got the bells." "It was never about the bells, Sakura," Kakashi informed. "That was merely a test to see if you could work as a team. Your teammates are your friends and your allies. You are their lifeline, as they are yours. To quote a friend, those who abandon the mission are scum. Those who abandon their comrades are lower than that. This is something that I take very seriously. No matter what, I won't ever abandon you. Now that we have done our exam, we have to report into the Hokage." He has an announcement regarding all teams. Just as they were walking away, Naruto stopped to ponder something. "Kakashi-sensei, you remember how you promised to teach me the super awesome, ultra flashy jutsu? Well, there is no such thing as there." Kakashi looked at Naruto, wondering what the hell he was on about before realizing. "He means that bogus jutsu name I made up to calm him down." Kakashi's face blew up, trying to contain his laughter. He failed spectacularly. He was on all fours, banging the ground in laughter. After a short explanation to Sasuke and Sakura, they too were rolling around on the floor, holding their sides. "Shut up," Naruto yelled at them. "I was like 4 years old. How was I to know?" Seeing that he wasn't going to get through to them, he walked off in a huff. A short while later we find not only Team 7 but Teams 1, 8 and 10 at the Hokage's office waiting for the announcement about their teams. Seeing that the last of the teams had arrived, Sarutobi began. "First of all, congratulations on passing your Jounin instructor's exams and becoming official genin of Konoha. Now the announcement that will affect you all is as follows. The teams of 1, 7, 8, and 10 are hereby disbanded until further notice." There was an outcry from all in the room. They were comfortable with their teams and wanted nothing changed. Sarutobi held up a wizened hand to stem the complaints. Despite the situation, all noise stopped. He was the cage for a reason. "In a manner of speaking, this matter was taken out of my hands. The civilian council as well as the village elders requested, or more precisely, demanded special training be given to a member of your number." Sasuke voiced. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. He knew how so many worshipped him and how he hated it. It was one of the things that Itachi had hated the most. Worship for belonging to the Uchiha clan, as if there was no greater honor. As such, instead of giving only one of your members special training, I have removed the teams to provide all of you with special training. Some will receive instruction in areas where others will not. Naruto raised his voice this time. "In other words, you're not going to waste time teaching us pointless things if we will never use it, or simply can't. Like me with Jinjutsu. That aside, there are many reasons for doing this. The first is to satisfy the demands of the council. If it were only the civilian council, I could have ignored the request, but seeing as the recommendation comes from all 3 of the village elders, I don't have that luxury. The second reason for doing this is that you all maintain the bond that you have developed since your academy days. The teams I put you on may not necessarily be your permanent ones. You were just placed with people that I thought you would have the hardest time working with." Sarutobi eyed everyone before realizing that they were silent and waiting for him to continue. "Well then, onto what you will be learning and from whom. You will all learn to develop the 3 academy basics of ninjutsu, taijutsu and jinjutsu. Only Naruto will be exempt from jinjutsu because it is, as he already said, he will never be able to use it. Ninjutsu will be taken by Kakashi Haddock, Jinjutsu will be taken by Kurenai Yui, and taijutsu will be run in conjunction with Mato-Gai's Genin Cell. This prevents over-specialization and you will be able to deal with any kind of situation out in the field in the future." Someone decided to interrupt the Hokage, wondering about the team placements, an interruption that he was glad for as he was quickly growing tired of talking for so long. "Hokage-sama, will there be any changes to the teams?" Anko asked, wondering about the placement of Ino on her team instead of the traditional Ino Shikacho team. "Actually yes, Ino and Masao will be swapping teams. There were reasons that I had them on those teams in the first place, but they blew away any doubts I had by passing their genin exam." A simple nod from Anko told her leader that she understood and accepted the change in her team composition when teams were actually active. "This is only the basic training everybody will receive. Hinata, Shino and Kiba will receive training from Konoha's tracking unit. Masao Makamachi, Ami Tanaka and Sai Komatsu seem to all have an attraction towards weapons usage, so they will receive extra training in this area from Anko Mitarashi. The Ino Shikacho team will receive training from their fathers in team tactics and in information gathering." Everyone looked excited by the prospect of learning such interesting thing from the given senseis. Sakura and Naruto looked a little disheartened at not having a specialty area in which to train in. Sarutobi noticed the look and would address it privately. He turned to look at Sasuke and gave him a choice. "You are supposed to take all the areas with your classmates, but I'm going to let you pick what you will and will not do." With all due respect, Hokage-sama, I will take all fields, except for the training with the Ino Shikacho team. That training is specifically set up for them. My brother was never 1 week in one area. If I truly want to compare to him, then I must have a strong basis in all areas. Very well then. Now that you all understand what you will be doing, this is how I will work. The first 3 days of each week will be dedicated to one of the 3 base disciplines, Taijutsu, Genjutsu or Ninjutsu. The next day will be training for the Ino Shikacho team and weapons training with Enko Mitarashi. The day after will be the tracking training for Team 8. If you feel you want to look into another area of expertise, simply to build your knowledge, then all you have to do is meet at the training ground in the morning with the specialty team. Sarutobi paused to collect his thoughts. The 5th day will comprise of missions where you will randomly be assigned into groups to foster teamwork amongst all of you. The 6th day will be Charka exercises. This will build control as well as your reserves. I should mention that all through the week you will be doing the most grueling work imaginable to build up your physical stamina. While Madogai cannot be instructing the whole time as he has his own genin team to tend to, he has been kind enough to provide us with a list of exercises that he has suggested to train your bodies to their peak. Lastly, the 7th day is a day of rest. There will be no training as it is important to allow your bodies time to adjust and grow with your training regimen. If there are no questions, everybody except for Naruto and Sakura are dismissed. Everybody milled out of the office except for 3, Naruto, Kakashi, and Sakura. Kakashi opted to stay back as both of his students were being spoken to. The Hokage first turned to Sakura. Sakura, I was wondering if you would be interested in becoming a medical ninja. You certainly seem to have the chakra control and a head that could easily get around the inner workings of the human body. Well, I don't have a specialized area yet, and if you think that it would be a good idea, then I'm more than happy to give it a try, Hokage-sama. Very well, then report to the hospital tomorrow. By then I will have arranged for a sensei for you to learn from. Sensing the finality in his tone, Sakura left, leaving only Naruto, Kakashi, and the Hokage in the room. Well, Naruto, it seems without Genjutsu and a speciality you have some areas to cover. That is why I have arranged for you to learn a sword style with Gekko Heiate. He is a recently retired ANBU that I have arranged to teach you sword skills. And the final area to cover requires a test. Reaching into his desk, he drew out a small piece of paper. Naruto, this is chakra paper. It responds to your chakra element. Seeing the confused look on Naruto's face, he realized that a better explanation was in order. Chakra has an elemental affinity, sometimes multiple affinities. These elements are water, fire, wind, lightning, and earth. When you channel chakra into this paper, it will respond accordingly. Water, and it will dampen. Fire, and it will burn. Wind will cause it to split. It will crumple if it is lightning, and it will crumble to dust if earth. Furious, Naruto instantly grabbed the paper and channeled some chakra into it. The paper split very evenly before starting to burn. The split happened so forcefully it was ridiculous, but that paled in comparison to the burning. It started out as a smolder before the paper burst into a white flame, causing Sarutobi and Kakashi to go wide-eyed. Well, it seems that you have a very high affinity for both wind and fire jutsu. It just so happens that Asuma is a wind user and I am a fire element. We will teach you jutsu from the corresponding areas. Now Naruto had his 2 areas to occupy himself while everybody did their own thing. He was more than happy. In fact, he was ecstatic about learning from the Hokage himself. As Kakashi and Naruto left using the door, Sarutobi looked at Naruto's retreating back and thought to himself, I know your letter told me that Naruto needed his letter by the time he was a genin, but I honestly don't think that he is ready for that. At least I'm providing him some decent training instead of your clan's techniques. Minato, Kushina, please forgive me. Naruto, I hope you will understand and not hate me for too long. And so it was that the group trained and trained. True to his word, the genin nearly collapsed every day after their workouts. The work from Guy was ridiculous. Added to that, anyone that trained with Anko nearly lost a limb from her training methods, which were more easily likened to torture methods. If anyone thought that Kakashi was going to be lazy in training them in ninjutsu, they were in for a rude awakening. Those that thought Kurenai Yuuhi would take it easy on them due to her gentle and kind nature were also shocked at how much of a slave driver she could be. From either area of specialty, many nearly ended up on the verge of chakra exhaustion. Naruto was the only one who could move after Kakashi's sessions. Nobody survived Guy's taijutsu training methods. Even Naruto with his legendary stamina collapsed after such an intense workout. To their defense, there was only one person on Guy's team that could handle that as well, Rock Lee. Sakura applied herself very heavily to her studies in medical ninjutsu. It was staggering just how much she could remember after one session with her sensei in the area, Megumi Takane. In less than a week she had memorized what situation called for which jutsu and had learned the 2 most basic jutsu from Megumi. The first was Shozen Jutsu, used for healing cuts, bruises, and most forms of injury. The second was Dokimeki no Jutsu, used for extracting poisons. As Sarutobi had said, she had excellent chakra control which aided in learning the jutsu. Naruto was worked to the bone by Gekko Heiate, Asuma, and his father, the Hokage. Gekko did not teach Naruto anything specific, only the correct way to swing a sword. It was one thing to swing a sword, but if the body parts were moved in the correct order, then the seeing could be all the more devastating. Asuma and the Hokage left him near chakra depletion after every training session, which said quite a lot considering his near-infinite supply of chakra. So far he had learned Endan, Hosenka no Jutsu, and was on his way to learning Ruka no Jutsu. He had mastered the Daidappa, though was struggling with actually forming a blade of wind for the Kase no Yaiba. The two most enjoyable times that the group had together were performing missions to build their teamwork and the chakra exercises. When the group first attempted the tree walking, it drove Naruto nuts that Hinata and Sakura could walk 3/4 of the tree on the first try and by the second managed to do the whole thing. Shino and Sai had the best luck out of the boys, though only getting halfway up. Kiba and Sasuke practically destroyed their trees by applying too much chakra, while Masao landed straight on her backside after using too little. The missions were for the most part enjoyable. The mission enjoyed the most was walking the Inuzuka dogs, while the most hated was catching Tora, a cat belonging to the Fire Daimyo's wife. It was Kiba's dearest wish to present that cat on a stick to Sasuke, who would then proceed to torch it with any one of his katen jutsu. He would then have loved to have fed the delicacy to the dogs in the Inuzuka kennel. It was early morning and the Rookie 12 was in the Hokage's office collecting mission assignments. Well, I have a pleasant surprise for you all. You all have enough D-rank missions under your belt to participate in a C rank. The missions are as follows. Team 1 will be heading to a small village to protect livestock from some bandits. Team 8 will be carrying a document from Konoha to Taki no Kuni, and Team 10 will be guiding a merchant from Kusa no Kuni to Konoha so he can sell his wares. Each team's sensei picked up the mission scroll before telling their team to meet at a gate in a short while prepared for the mission. Team 7 remained in the office as they were yet to receive their mission. Thank you for waiting patiently while the other teams got their assignments. His words came not a moment too soon, as Naruto had been about to angrily ask about their C-ranked mission. Your mission requires an introduction, he stated to the team before yelling to someone out of the room, send Tezuna-san in. A short man with gray hair walked in. Even from the distance they were at, it was still possible to smell the stench of alcohol about his as he entered the room. What's the idea? Giving me a girl to guard me back to my home. Before he had even blinked, all three genin were around him with a kunai pointed at a different vital point. Sasuke spoke first. We work as one. An insult to our teammate is the same as insulting us. We will not tolerate such a thing, he stated with a smirk. Besides, you've just seen our skills firsthand. Sakura piped up, rest assured that Kakashi-sensei is a jounin and can handle anything we cannot. She finished, lowering her weapon, her teammates following suit. Kakashi was proud, though you couldn't see it through the face mask. Alright, meet at the village main gates in an hour. Pack only the essentials for our mission. In other words, some food, any weapons, and some camping supplies. 3 hours later, after Kakashi had managed to avoid Naruto for the 2 hours that he was late, the group had finally set off for Nami no Kuni. The trip was interspersed by little bits of chit-chat, some of which focusing on Tezuna's home village. So Tezuna, what is Nami no Kuni like? Sakura was the one who had asked. It's a peaceful little village. We're mainly based on fishing and there isn't any real threat of shinobi as we aren't a ninja village. A couple of hours through the mission, 4 people noticed a genjutsu in the form of a puddle on the ground. Well, 3 people noticed. Naruto, still not quite adept at actually detecting minor fluctuations of chakra, had his own process. It hasn't rained in days, it's been pretty bright and the land is flat so that water isn't run off from somewhere. This is a trap. Thank Kami Aniki taught me to always question my surroundings. No sooner than Naruto had come to his conclusion, 2 figures emerged from the puddles and started attacking. They both had Kirigakure Hitaiates on, though they were slashed, indicating that they were Nuke Nin. They were dressed in black cloaks with a clawed gauntlet on opposing hands and a chain linking their other 2 hands. Their first move was to remove Kakashi. They did so almost effortlessly, wrapping him up in the chain before shredding him to pieces with a sharp tug at each end of the chain. Not even stopping after killing Kakashi, they turned their attention to Tezuna. The 3 genins didn't even get time to contemplate their sensei's death, they waited for their foes to come to them. Sakura stayed put and guarded Tezuna while Sasuke and Naruto were the ones to meet the enemy head-on. Sasuke simply got inside the wild slashes and strikes that one of the pair was dishing out, simply choosing to thrust the butt of his kunai into his throat, preventing him from breathing and stopping him in his tracks. In these vital few seconds, Sasuke knocked him out. Naruto parried the gauntlet of his opponent into a tree, with the chain now at full stretch and the mostly free opponent unconscious while his counterpart was struggling to free himself from the tree. The danger had now passed. Kakashi reappeared looking as calm as ever. You're alive. Tezuna was shocked. He had seen him get torn to shreds with his own eyes. Of course he is, Sakura admonished. If we genin could notice such an obvious trap, what do you think the odds on a jounin not noticing are? Slim to none is my guess. Great work everybody. Naruto, you got careless, you have a cut in your hand. Their weapons have poison on them. I can deal with that. Megumi-sensei taught me the Dokumeki no Jutsu already. Sakura offered. Then please do so. I first have to question these 2 chunin, then depending on what they say I may have a few questions for you, Tezuna-san. That unless you want to save me the trouble and tell me why they were after you in the first place. Aye, fine. Tezuna reluctantly agreed. I'm a bridge builder. I'm currently in the middle of a project that will link Nami no Kuni to the mainland. While there is a businessman that doesn't like the idea. His name is Gato. The shipping magnate? Kakashi asked, slightly intrigued. The same. Well, he controls the waters around Nami. He who controls the water controls everything. So I'm trying to build this bridge so we will be free of his terror. You do realize that you have knowingly broken our contract. Encountering a shinobi automatically bumps this up to a B rank mission. Should we encounter a jounin, then the mission status goes up to a rank. We are well within our rights to refuse the mission and turn back. Tazuna paled at the news. But if you do, we will never be free of Gato's reign. Please reconsider. I'll leave the decision to my students. Kakashi replied. The three genin all looked at each other. Naruto then spoke for them. I don't know about legalities all that much, but Kakashi-sensei did say those who abandon the mission are scum, those who abandon those in need are lower than that. If we turn back, we are both abandoning the mission and someone in need. I say we continue the mission. Agreed, was all that was necessary from both Sasuke and Sakura. While those weren't my exact words, he summed it up pretty well. It looks like we are continuing. Kakashi summed up his group interaction and decided on the course of action to be taken. Tazuna let out a rather audible sigh of relief. For hours the troop walked, not really saying much. That was until Naruto decided to throw a kunai into a thicket of bushes. They went over to check what had tripped his senses. Upon seeing a small white rabbit, Sakura scolded him. Naruto, what are you trying to do? Scare me to death. Everyone is already on edge from the attack and now you've hurt the poor thing. Using Shosen Jutsu, she healed the nick in the rabbit's ear before setting it free. Kakashi was thinking on a far different wavelength. That's a snow rabbit. They only have white fur in the winter when there is low sun. It's now summer, so its fur should be brown. This rabbit was raised indoors, possibly for a kawarami jutsu. Then he heard something as though it was flying through the air coming towards them. Get down, was all he had time to roar at the other four. The three genin quickly ducked while Kakashi pulled Tazuna out of harm's way. Not a moment later a Zanbatsu flew overhead. Anyone that had been too late in ducking would have been decapitated. The giant sword embedded itself into a nearby tree and a man appeared on the handle. He was wearing shinobi pants and sandals, but no upper body coverings. Like Kakashi, he also had a face mask on, his consisting of thin strips of material. Momochi Zabuza, demon of the hidden mist. Kakashi said aloud, though to no one in particular. I'm honored you know me, copy Nin. Kakashi Zabuza coolly replied. The three genin tensed ready for a fight. No, you three, guard Tazuna. This one is in league far above the others. He instructed his genin. I'm going to need this, he continued, lifting up his headband and revealing his Sharingan eye. The Sharingan. How did he get that? No Uchiha I can ever remember would ever willingly part with it. It was a matter of pride for them that the Sharingan stay within the Uchiha clan. Sasuke was genuinely shocked. He had never expected his sensei's covered eye socket to contain a Sharingan eye. Kakashi, I've been hired to kill that man. Care to step aside? Zabuza tested his luck, knowing that Kakashi was hired to protect Tazuna. Sorry, no deal. Kakashi firmly answered, before entering a defensive stance. Didn't think so, though I thought I would at least show some courtesy to another professional. The words were barely out of his mouth before he appeared in the middle of the defense formation Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura had set up. Before he could do any damage, he was quickly taken out by Kakashi with a kunai to his side. Where blood was leaking out, they only saw water. Mizu Bunshin, Kakashi mused out loud. A moment later, Kakashi was cut cleanly in two, only to burst into water as Zabuza had done. Zabuza then found himself with a kunai to his neck. I win, Zabuza. Not quite, Kakashi, Zabuza said as he swung his Zanbatsu, Kubikiri Haucho, to Kakashi's neck. Realizing the trouble he was in, Kakashi changed his position, ensuring that he slashed the Mizu Bunshin's neck to kill it while he brought his kunai into a position to block the slash. The swing had too much power in it and Kakashi was knocked out off balance. It was all the opening that Zabuza needed to kick him onto the surface of a nearby body of water. Zabuza smirked. Just where I want you, he thought to himself. Before Kakashi had regained his senses, he had appeared next to him. Suiro no Jutsu. Zabuza announced his jutsu and almost immediately Kakashi was trapped in a sphere of water. That sphere is stronger than steel, Kakashi. There is no chance of escape. As your last sight, I will kill off your genin along with the old man in front of you before I kill you. A Mizu Bunshin formed from one of the previously destroyed ones. Naruto created a massive cage Bunshins and sent them all to attack the Mizu Bunshin. They dogpiled the Zabuza Bunshin before all being sent flying. The clone dispersed a second later. It appeared that at least one of the clones had managed to stab Zabuza with a kunai before being sent flying. What are you doing? You can't beat him. Just run. Get out of here. Kakashi tried to save his students from the fate he was to have in only a short while. Kakashi-sensei, we lost that option when you got captured. Sasuke replied. After all, it was you that said those who abandon their teammates are lower than trash. Sakura finished for him, using Kakashi's own words against him. Sasuke threw a Fuma Shuriken at Zabuza. He caught it in his hand, only to jump over the second Shuriken hidden in the shadows. The second Shuriken poofed into a Naruto Bunshin and threw a kunai at Zabuza. Zabuza used the Shuriken in his hand to deflect the incoming kunai. Damn it, Sasuke growled in frustration. I was sure that would work. The teamwork displayed by Naruto and Sasuke was unreal, but in the face of such a powerful ninja it was pointless. Naruto came up with an idea. Our attacks have been defocused. Sasuke gave him sidelong glance to tell him that he was listening. Our attacks were direct. If we create an attack that is too wide a range for him to dodge, then he has no choice but to let Kakashi-sensei free. I'm gonna need you to create the most powerful fireball you can, he explained, still addressing Sasuke. Sasuke didn't question, but did as he was asked. Captain, and then, a fireball 8 feet in diameter blossomed from Sasuke's mouth. While in mid-flight there was a sudden cry from Naruto. Futen, Datappa. The fireball went from 8 feet to 20. Zabuza paled. He had one hand tied up so he could not perform the Suijineki, and it was far too large to somehow dodge from his stationary position. The other hand was providing a protective layer of water around Kakashi. It was a lose-lose situation. He released the jutsu and both ninja leaped in different directions at the last second to escape the rapidly approaching blaze. Both men settled on the water and started to go through a long set of hand seals. The amazing thing was that they were doing the exact same hand seals at the exact same time. Stop copying me, Zabuza started. ... You irritating monkey. Kakashi finished for him. They hollered the jutsu name at the same time. Suten, Suryudan no Jutsu. The gigantic dragons that appeared as a result of the jutsu fought for dominance, neither winning, sending water in all directions when they collapsed. Seeing that neither jutsu had succeeded, both began doing hand seals once more, both doing the exact same hand seals. How are you copying my every move? Can you ... see into the future? Yes, I can. Zabuza, your future is death. Kakashi finished the jutsu a fraction of a second before Zabuza. Suten, Dabakufu no Jutsu. A giant vortex appeared and slammed Zabuza against the tree that his sword had originally lodged in. When the water had receded, Kakashi walked over calmly and attempted to finish the job. A senbon flashed through the air and hit Zabuza in the neck, stilling all movement. Kakashi looked over for the source and saw a young Oinin. Walking over to the body, he checked for vital signs. With none found, he walked away and the Oinin approached the body. Thank you for stopping him. I have been tracking this one for quite some time. Understanding that the role of an Oinin was to eliminate Nuke Nin, the three genin remained silent through the exchange. By the end, the Oinin had shunshined away with the body, presumably in order to dispose of the body. Kakashi turned to the group and suggested that they move towards Tezuna's house. Mid-sentence, he collapsed due to chakra exhaustion. He had used his Sharingan for quite a while in conjunction with two jutsu that require a considerable amount of chakra. The duty of carrying Kakashi home was rotated between all three genin as they made their way back to Tezuna's home in Nami. Team 7 and Tezuna had arrived at Tezuna's house only a few short hours ago. There they had met his daughter Tsunami and her son Onori. They had arrived late at night, so they were all tired. Skipping an evening meal, all five went to bed only two. The following morning everybody was awake. Kakashi was now moving around with the aid of crutches that Tezuna had somehow procured. There was a very tense silence between the ninja. Sakura was the first to breach the silence. Kakashi-sensei, the other day, with the Oinin, something seemed off. Kakashi gave her a very serious look. It said that he had his own suspicions, but he wanted to hear hers first. In training with both Megumi-sensei and Anko-sensei, they both said that it was really hard to kill with a senbon, though I do know we use them in some medical treatments. Kakashi looked at them all. You have all been taught the role of an Oinin. Can any of you remember anything about the disposal method? All three looked completely out at sea, so Kakashi gave them some extra information. Not how they do it, but where. Realization first dawned on Sasuke. ... They dispose of the body wherever it lands, circumstances permitting. That Oinin took the body away. We don't know what became of it. Correct, it is possible to place a person in a near-death state with senbon needles, but only if the aim is good enough. Also, the Oinin is supposed to take only the head back to the village and destroy the rest. The one we saw did not. It is possible that it was in league with Zabuza. Naruto connected the rest of the dots and simply said it out loud what everyone had alluded to. So, Zabuza is still alive. Tezuna had only walked in on the back half of the conversation, and Naruto's summation made him pale in fear. There was still a man out there who wanted his head and was powerful enough to take down his guards. So what are we going to do? Naruto asked. We train. We will most likely be surrounded by water when we face him again. I'm going to teach you a few water techniques to take advantage of it. Mizubunshin and Suijineki would be most useful. This is more about getting you to survive this long enough for me to get there, rather than actually take him on. If there is time, we can try to get to Teppadama. I doubt we will get time though. From what I understand, we have about a week before he will recover. I just hope I'm recovered by then as well. A short while later, we find Team Even out by a lake. Kakashi had taken them there to learn the suggested jutsu. Right, these are the hand signs for making a Mizubunshin. It's very much like making a normal bunshin, though you must focus on bringing a replica of yourself out of the surrounding water. Kakashi demonstrated the hand signs for the three. Naruto, you will not be learning this. With your cage bunshin, it's pointless to learn another jutsu so similar right now. You are going to focus on learning the Suijineki. Like he did for Sasuke and Sakura, he demonstrated the hand seals before overseeing their progress. By the end of the day, all three had made some progress. Sasuke could only partly perform the jutsu. Most of her attempts failed before they could even take a hit, meaning that she was either putting in too much charka, resulting in the clone exploding, or too little, meaning it collapsed almost instantly. Sasuke was simply having problems getting his image to form out the surrounding water. Naruto was having the greatest difficulty out of the three, something that Kakashi attributed to his extreme fire affinity. He simply could not get the water to move in the way that was necessary in order to perform a protective shield against whatever attack was coming his way. Kakashi watched his student train till late in the afternoon when he decided that it was enough for one day. He called them in and told them it was time to go home to rest and relax and try to perfect the techniques the next day. At the dinner table there was hardly any conversation. The three genin were all too tired to talk, so they simply ate. Inari was eating with the group for once, and it was him that broke the silence. "Why do you all try so hard?" he asked the group. He had watched them through the day's training. "Because we have a mission to complete. Because if we die here, we can't fulfill any of our dreams. If you will die here, all of you are going to die," he proclaimed. "You don't know what it's like living here, and yet you think that you're going to change everything. You don't know how hard life is here." Naruto cut in on his rant. "We may not live here, but we know better than anyone else what a hard life can be. We are ninja, we are soldiers. We could die on a mission. We could die on this mission, trying to help people that don't even seem to want to help themselves. Tell me that when you are our age and you get a job, just how often it is that you could be facing death, then tell me how hard your life really is." His hands were clenched in fists of rage. He couldn't stand it anymore. He got up and left, leaving everyone at the table and his dinner unfinished. He went to the nearby forest to blow off steam. It wasn't that he wanted to train, he just wanted to lay into something. He went to a fairly densely wooded area and just started pummeling into the nearest tree. He was punching a divot into the tree's trunk. It wasn't good enough. He started to kick it, leaving large welts in the side. It still wasn't enough. He stepped back and screamed out, "Kase no Yeba." The tree was cleanly sliced in half. When he was finished, he was left panting, not from the effort, but trying to rein in his raging emotions. "Are you all right?" a voice rang through the trees. When Naruto looked around, he was greeted with the sight of what he would later describe as one of the most beautiful girls he had ever seen. She was 5'0" with long black hair and dark brown eyes. She was wearing a pink kimono with small purple designs all over it. While the kimono wasn't very form-fitting, you could still see that she took care of her body and at least stayed trim. The thing that most took his attention was her face. It was the perfect shape and nothing seemed out of proportion. She smiled at him and he quickly realized that he was staring at her. He quickly averted his gaze and suddenly found great interest in the ground between them. "Are you all right?" the girl repeated. "I'm fine, just blowing off some steam. My name is Haku. Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto responded, realizing that she was waiting for him to tell her his name. The girl smiled warmly at him. If Naruto had realized who he was talking to, he may not have been so relaxed. She recognized him as one of Kakashi's students immediately. The blonde hair and whisker marks were a dead giveaway. "So, what are you doing all the way out here?" Naruto put the question back to her. "Collecting medicinal herbs. My friend is sick. Would you like some help?" Naruto offered after a short pause. "Yes, that would be appreciated." Haku and Naruto collected the herbs she was looking for after she showed him a basket half full of what she was looking for. Midway through their searching, Haku broke the silence once again. "Naruto, you're a ninja, right?" "Yes, how did you know?" "Your headband tells me so." "Well, I was wondering ... Why do you fight?" "Because if I don't, then I will be killed." "It's kill or be killed. You misunderstand. Do you fight for power? Or is it money? Is it because the life of a ninja is fun? Or do you fight to protect friends and other loved ones?" Naruto was quiet for quite a while as he thought through his answer. For what reason did he fight? His dream was to become Hokage. A Hokage was the one responsible for looking after and protecting all of the people in his village. He had his answer. "I fight to protect my friends, my older brother, and one day, maybe a family." He finally responded. "That is a good reason to fight. Those that have someone to protect will one day find true strength." She said no more. Naruto pondered her message in his head. She had finished picking herbs. "Thank you for your help. I will be leaving now." "Wait, would you like to meet here tomorrow? Just to talk. Same place, same time." Haku looked at him for a second. Into his eyes, it was the first time that she actually noticed how beautifully blue they were. They seemed almost as if they were pleading her to say yes. She hesitated before answering. "Yes, I will see you here tomorrow," she replied before turning and disappearing into the night. Naruto also turned and went back to the house, ready for another day of training. On her way back to the base, Haku was thinking to herself about what kind of a mess she had gotten herself into. She had met a member of the enemy and could have easily taken him out, yet she didn't. If Zabuza had found out about that, then she would have to deal with the fallout involved from that. Worse still, she had arranged to meet the boy again. She knew it was dangerous and perhaps stupid, getting friendly with someone that she may end up fighting, but she couldn't bring herself to harm him. That night, Gato and two of his personal guards, Zori and Wareji, paid Zabuza and Haku a visit. "Zabuza, I'm paying you to kill an old man. It should not be that difficult. He is being guarded by Kakashi Haddock, one of Konoha's elite ninja. I don't care. Get rid of him or. Gato made to reach for Zabuza to emphasize the point he was about to make when Haku grabbed his hand. You are unworthy of even touching Zabuza-sama, Haku said with an icy voice while crushing the bones in Gato's hand. Gato's guards went to draw their swords, but before they had them halfway unsheathed, Haku was already by their sides with a senbon poised to strike, both aimed at the kidney. Getting the message, the three men left. You didn't have to do that, you know. I could have handled it myself. True, but you need to rest, particularly after being put in a near-death state. Haku replied. Zabuza left it at that and tried to get some sleep. The next day seemed like a blur to Naruto. He, Sakura and Sasuke went and practiced the techniques showed to them by Kakashi. They practiced on their own as Kakashi was given time to rest from his battle with Zabuza. While they were training, Sasuke and Sakura had filled in Naruto about the Inari and his history with a man named Kaiza. It turned out that the man had saved Inari from drowning, and ever since Inari had worshipped Kaiza as his hero, eventually the pair becoming as close as father and son. Kaiza was hailed as a hero all over Wave when he saved the village from being flooded by braving terrible currents in order to close a dam gate that had burst open. When Gato appeared, Kaiza confronted about his business dealings. For his boldness and public display of opposing Gato, he cut Kaiza's arms off in a public execution. Since then, Inari had never been the same. They finished at the same time they had the day before, going back to the house for dinner. Naruto once again walked out in the middle of the meal, this time in a far better mood. He waited in a clearing for Haku, near where he had met her yesterday. When he saw her, he smiled, then his eyes were drawn to a small rabbit in her arms and he immediately tensed. She noticed the subtle changes in his demeanor and asked him about it. Naruto-san, what's wrong? Are you not happy to see me? That rabbit. He started. I've seen that rabbit before. It was right before Zabuza attacked us. He told her. Now that I think about it, I never saw the Oinin's face that came for him. They had a mask on. She tensed as well. Not everything was given away. All he had alluded to was that she was the Oinin from the other day, which she was. He still had said that he believed that she was working with Zabuza. She may not have to kill him yet. My team and I, we think that the Oinin from the other day was working with Zabuza. After all, they are supposed to destroy the body where it falls and take the head back to the village as proof of the kill. He had gone and said what she did not want to hear. If he had gone on believing that she had actually disposed of the body, then she could have let him live. But now, the choice was taken out of her hands. Haku settled into a fighting stance. Naruto remained still. Why did you not kill me when I was unaware yesterday? Why did you agree to come and talk with me again today? Because I couldn't bring myself to do it. I had no real reason to kill you, but now you know, you can report back to your sensei. That makes no sense. We would have ended up fighting at some point anyway. Surely you must have realized that and still you let me live. Why? It's because it's not in your nature to kill, isn't it? Haku remained silent. He took her silence as a signal to continue. Why do you still stand by him if all he requires you to do is kill, something that you seem to detest? She looked at him with burning eyes. Because killing for Zabuza-sama gives me a purpose. He saved me from a path of nothingness. He gave me a use, to be his tool, to kill when he requires me to be discarded when the tool outlived its usefulness. All I needed to do remain his tool was not become useless and always have a function. Naruto's gaze softened as he heard her reasons. Would you tell me about it? About your life? Haku looked at him as though she was having some sort of great internal debate. She finally steeled herself to tell him her story. I used to live in Kirigakure with my mother and father as villagers. It was a simple life, but we were happy for a time. All around us was the blood wars and mist. Anybody with a Kekkei Genkai was killed, they were feared. One day I was playing with water when I managed to levitate it. She paused to draw a breath, checking if Naruto was still listening. To her surprise, he still was. I was so excited, so I showed my mother. She looked at me like I was doing something horrible and slapped me for it. My concentration broke and the water dropped to the floor, but it was too late. My father had already seen. Neither one of us realized that he was there. The next time we saw him was with a group of men. They killed my mother before turning to me. I had no choice, I killed them all. I still have no recollection to this day about how, but all I remember was everything being painted in red. Her throat was starting to get dry from talking so much, but still she pressed on. After that I wandered, eating out of the trash, doing whatever I could to survive. I lived like this for some time before Zabuza-sama found me. He took me in and trained me, taught me everything he knew. I was to be his personal weapon. For the first time in a long time I was happy. I had a purpose. You were persecuted for something out of your control. Naruto said solemnly, if you detest killing as you do, why do you do it? Why should you have to kill? Why fight us when you don't want to? Can you understand? Not having a dream. Not being needed by anyone. The pain of merely being alive. Even if the purpose seems incorrect. As though you were using the tool for a purpose it was not designed for. What about your dreams now? I want to protect the person important to me. I want to work for that person. I want to fight for that person. I want to make that person's dream come true. That is my dream. Naruto remained silent. He had no retort to that, no reasonable counter-argument. We have been out here for quite some time. I think it is best we get back to our camps. Meet me here again tomorrow. Why? There is nothing that you can say that will change my mind. I can still enjoy your company before we have to fight. A small smile crossed Haku's face. She truly did enjoy the boy's company, even if there was nothing said. She felt as though she could relax and even let her guard down a little. Very well then, I will meet you here tomorrow. With that, both left the clearing and went their different ways. The next day saw all three perfecting the jutsu they were working on. Sakura and Sasuke had managed to make a few bunshin and were now practicing the Suijin Heki like Naruto was. Naruto now had the proper form of the wall around him, but it was taking him far too long to make the wall around him. By the time he actually did so, it would be pointless as the attack would have already hit. By the end of the day, Naruto was now able to raise the wall of water at a reasonable speed. He would move on to the Teppadama tomorrow. Sasuke and Sakura had managed to raise the wall of water. The problem was that if it was thick enough to protect against the attack, it didn't cover their whole body. If it covered their whole body, it wasn't strong enough to protect against the attack. Again, they stopped late in the afternoon and went back for dinner. For once, Naruto ate all the food on his plate, though he did eat at top speed, so when he excused himself from the table, the others were still eating anyway. He left the house and made his way to the clearing that he met Haku in yesterday. Haku was already waiting there for him, her rabbit with her again. There was no point in trying to hide it now that he knew. I'm glad you came, he said to her. Likewise, was all the response that he received. Listen, you told me your life story yesterday, to someone that was practically a stranger. I want to return the favor. This gained Haku's interest. She sat down on the damp grass and waited for him to continue. Where to begin? You remember how I said that you were persecuted for things out of your control? He saw her give small nod and continued. Well, I am the same. 13 years ago, the Kyuubi no Yauko attacked Konoha. It was far too powerful for our shinobi forces to kill. They ended up getting slaughtered left and right. Haku was confused. It made for a good story, but how did his home village destruction tie in with his own life story? Well, everyone waited for the strongest in our village, the Hokage. When he appeared, he defeated the beast. Everyone believed that he had killed it. It was impossible for a mere mortal to kill the beast. After all, the thing was immortal. Her mind was trying to think of a way that he could have defeated the being without killing it. She could come up with nothing. By this account, Konoha should have been razed to the ground. He sealed the thing. It was his only option. He sealed it into the only thing that would be able to hold it, a human baby. Her eye widened in realization. He has the fox sealed inside him. That baby, it was you, wasn't it? She asked gently. He nodded. Since that day, I was treated worse than trash. The villagers beat me. They tried to kill me in every way possible. The only people that seemed to care were the Hokage and a few of his ANBU. I found that there was a law preventing my knowledge of all this. I found out from my sensei as he tried to kill me. Seeing the deadened look in his eyes, she walked over and did the thing that came most naturally. She gave him a hug. There was nothing in it, just a hug to show that she understood his plight and was there for him right at that moment. It was a shock to feel her arms around him. He felt comfortable, eventually returning the hug. You're not afraid. You don't think I'm some demon. He was in shock. The only response was a warm smile. He didn't think that anyone would ever accept him. He realized that he had not told Haku about Kakashi. Just as Zabuza had taken her in and trained her, Kakashi had taken him in and trained him, though not to the same extent. It's not all tragedy, though. In the end, Kakashi-sensei adopted me. He's more like a big brother. The two remained silent for some time, before Naruto spoke again. When we meet next, it may be as enemies. What will you do? Will you kill me and my friends? Or will you let us live, even if it goes against Zabuza's dream? I would prefer to let you live, but only time will tell. She answered the question carefully, cautious not to commit herself to one side or the other. Naruto-san, it was good getting to know you. If we had met under different circumstances, I'm sure we would have been good friends. It's naive to say, but I wish this would all just work out somehow. Goodbye for now, Haku-san. With one last glance at the other, both left the clearing and headed back to their temporary homes. The next day, Kakashi told all of his genin to rest. While he did estimate that it would be 7 days before Zabuza was operational, it could be less given that he was more or less in peak physical condition. Kakashi himself was almost completely recovered from his bout with Zabuza. He had been guarding his Tazuna while his genin learned the new jutsu. Fortunately, no one attacked within this time, making his recovery all the smoother. Naruto and his two teammates just talked in the house for the day. Naruto only intermittently contributed to the conversation. He still had quite a bit on his mind, mostly what he would do if he had to fight Haku. The following day saw Sasuke and Sakura go with Kakashi to the bridge to guard Tazuna. Naruto was left at home to guard Inari and Tsunami. The more Kakashi learned of Gato, the more he understood the underhanded methods that he employed. Naruto was in the house, rechecking his weaponry, when he heard a loud crash downstairs, followed by a scream from Tsunami. No, please, leave him alone. He's just a boy. Naruto cautiously went downstairs to investigate. When he had a clear view, he could see Tsunami being held captive by a man, with a beanie on with grayish hair dangling from the bottom around his face. He wore a gray jacket and black pants. The man had a katana strapped to his waist. Inari was looking at his mother, feeling helpless. He finally understood why Naruto and his friends trained, to never feel as he did now. He was weak, he could do nothing, yet something had to be done, otherwise he would lose his mother. He had nothing he could do except rush in blindly and hope for the best. He did exactly that. He ignored his mother's calls to run and save his own life and continued charging towards his death. Naruto saw the distraction and wasted no time in using it. He quickly replaced Inari with a log before rescuing Tsunami from her rope bindings. "Why, you little brat, now the wench gets it," the man with gray hair said before aiming a slash to where Tsunami originally was only to find loose rope bindings. Quickly he aimed a slash at Naruto's midsection. It was easily parried before a kunai was lodged in the assailant's skull. Naruto turned to Inari and Tsunami. "I'm really sorry you had to see that, but I couldn't let him live. If he is here, then it's a fairly good bet that Zabuza is on the bridge going after your father," Naruto said, addressing Tsunami more so than Inari. "I have to go and help my teammates." Before leaving he turned to Inari. "Inari, I heard Kaisa's tale. I'm sure that for what you did, putting your mother ahead of yourself, he would be most proud." Without any further exchange, Naruto left for the bridge. Inari looked at him till he could see him no longer and realized what he had to do. He went inside and grabbed the crossbow before leaving to gather as many townspeople as he could to help in the fight against Gato. Meanwhile, Kakashi, Sakura and Tazuna all arrived at the bridge to find bodies everywhere. They all seemed to be groaning in pain and trying to escape from whatever had left them in that condition. Team 7 sans Naruto was immediately alert and ready for battle. Their opponents appeared before them, Zabuza and the Oi Nin that had come for him the other day when they first encountered each other. "Well, it seems we meet again, Zabuza," Kakashi greeted. "I don't have time for pleasantries, Kakashi," Zabuza responded, forming 5 Mizu Bunshins and sending them to attack. Sasuke was shaking in his place, something that didn't go unnoticed by Zabuza. "Look how poorly trained your student is, Kakashi. He's trembling in fear." "Not fear, anticipation," Sasuke corrected. Though Sasuke, Sakura guard Tazuna. Kakashi gave his orders, and before anyone else could move, the 5 Bunshins were destroyed, leaving only water around Sasuke. "Well, it looks like you have some competition in Speed Haku. Go take him, Kakashi is mine." Zabuza and Kakashi watched their students exchanging blows for a short while. Sasuke started the trade of blows with a sweep with a kunai at Haku's neck. His was easily parried by Haku using senbon needles before a stabbing counter-attack was made, with Haku holding 4 senbon in her right hand. The strike was dodged, though narrowly, and resulted in both making another attempt at the same time. Their weapons met mid-strike and the pair fought for domination, struggling to throw the other off balance and get a free shot in. They seemed fairly evenly matched. While their weapons were still locked, Haku spoke. "It seems that you are at a severe disadvantage." "How so?" Sasuke asked back. "First, we are surrounded by water, my element. Secondly, one of your hands is in use, preventing the use of hand seals. As I see it, the only advantage you have is that we are surrounded by water." Sasuke countered before Haku started making one-handed hand signs. Sensatsu Suisho. The hand signs ended and Haku stomped on the ground. The water from the Mizu Bunshins rose into the air, froze into needles, and then all shot at terrific sped towards Sasuke. He had 2 options, defend or dodge. There was more than enough water available for Suijineki, but it would give Haku ample time to prepare another attack while he couldn't see out of the water shield properly. With only one real option left open to him, he focused chakra into his legs, before springing 4 meters into the air. Kakashi's eye grew visibly wider. "I've never seen that before. What have I gotten Sasuke into?" he thought to himself, now concerned for his student's safety. Zabuza's words broke into his thoughts. "Kakashi, let's get our rematch started." He disappeared in a flash. Kakashi barely managed to follow his movement and backpedaled quickly. Not a moment after he moved, Zabuza's blade crashed down where he was standing, breaking apart cement where the blade landed. Kakashi immediately raised his headband, once again revealing the Sharingan eye. "Kakashi, the last time you won, you tricked me. You caught me in a genjutsu of some kind by using that eye. You're not going to get the same chance this time, Kirigakure no Jutsu. I'm the master of the silent kill," Zabuza announced to Kakashi. "Tell me, how will you defeat me when you cannot hear me and you cannot see me? Which target will I strike? Lungs, liver, kidneys, subclavian artery, heart, brain, trachea or carotid artery?" Zabuza's voice faded into the mist and Kakashi heard no more. He could see nothing, hear nothing. The only thing he had to go by was instinct alone. "If I were Zabuza, where would I strike? What is the best target?" Then the answer hit Kakashi like a thunderbolt. His mission is to kill Tazuna. He realized before getting to the bridge builder as soon as he could. He got there just in the nick of time, blocking the great sword with a kunai, struggling under the weight of the sword. The pressure suddenly released and Zabuza had disappeared into the mist once again. "I'm going to have to deal with Kakashi before taking out the old man," thought an irate Zabuza. Zabuza once again went for a vertical strike for where Kakashi was standing. Kakashi quickly sidestepped the incoming blade only. Zabuza, realizing that he had missed, once again feathered his blade and making a wide swing in the direction that Kakashi dodged in. Kakashi jumped over the blade and ran in for a quick strike with his kunai, only to have to block the blade again. Zabuza had continued with the sweep full circle, gaining momentum with the blade as he swung. Kakashi was far too close to dodge and had to block to prevent himself from being sliced cleanly in two. The blade was swung with immense force. The weight of the blade and the power of the swing was enough to send Kakashi flying. Zabuza went herring after the body, going for another strike. Haku and Sasuke's fight had gone to a completely new level. Sasuke was now surrounded by innumerable mirrors composed of ice. It seemed this was Haku's signature jutsu, making full use of her Hyuuden bloodline. Sasuke had also awakened his own bloodline. The dormant Sharingan had manifested in his eyes. Once obsidian black, they are now red with one tamo in each eye. Haku noticed the change in the eye and recognized it for what it was immediately. The Sharingan was one of the most well-known bloodlines in the world. Along with the Sharingan came an increase in Sasuke's fighting ability. Her signature jutsu, Makayo Hyosho, grants her speed above anything else. It also allowed her to confuse her enemies as illusory images of herself appeared in every window. Yet with the arrival of the Sharingan in his eyes, he was getting better at following and predicting her movements. She realized that she had to end this quickly before it got too far out of hand. The original intention was to keep him occupied while Zabuza killed Tazuna, then she could let the boy live. Haku emerged from the mirror she was in and lashed out at Sasuke. She buried a fist deep into his gut, making him double over, holding his stomach. While he was bent over but still standing, she delivered a devastating elbow to the back of the head, causing his face to go crashing into the concrete. Quickly retreating to another mirror while he was face down and unable to see, she waited until he turned his back on her in a hopeless attempt to find her. The opportunity arose not long after. She threw a senbon at his spine in a non-lethal point, only to have it dodged and then a kunai thrown at her in retaliation. He couldn't have purposefully made that opening, could he? Surely it would take longer to get used to those eyes. Haku thought rapidly. She noticed him going through its seals and let him be for the time being. It would take far more power than a simple fire jutsu to destroy any of these mirrors. Katen, Gakakyu no Jutsu. Sasuke watched as the fireball hit the mirror and had no visible effect. A moment of distracted irritation was all Haku needed. She emerged from a mirror and landed another hit, this time to Sasuke's temple, causing his vision to blur. A high-aimed roundhouse kick soon followed, kicking him in the back of the head. He was starting to run out of options. Fire jutsu were ineffective against the mirror. She never came out of the mirror for very long, and when she did, her moves were devastating. If he used any jutsu, she would see immediately, so using the water bunshin that he had leaned would be pointless, as it would be swiftly destroyed, simply meaning a waste of chakra. Kakashi and Zabuza were still in a deadlock of sorts. Neither had landed a solid hit on one another. Clothes were slashed, and the only real damage dealt was when one or the other went flying due to a kick or a punch. Kakashi could hear Sasuke's screams through the mist and wanted to end this quickly, yet the opportunity to do so had not yet presented itself. Naruto arrived at the bridge. The sight that greeted him was beyond bizarre. All he could make out was a great mist covering the battlefield, with Tazuna and Sakura guarding him at the very edge. On the other side of the mist was a mass of rectangular sheets of ice forming something of a dome. Inside, he could just make out a figure with black hair being battered around by something moving at very high speed. Sasuke thought wildly, not even considering a battle plan before rushing out to help his teammate. Haku-san, stop this, Naruto called out through the thick mists. You know I cannot, Naruto-san. I live to serve Zabuza. He is ordering me to fight. If I do not, I am as good as useless. Is this the way it must be? Will you go against your own desires of not killing, just to help him? We all do what we must. It seemed to Naruto that Haku had formed her own resolve. He would have to steel his will into fighting someone that he had formed a friendship with over the past few days. Naruto and Sasuke stood back to back. Naruto noticed movement out of the corner of his eye. It was the only warning he received before it was raining senbon all over the place. The two boys tried in vain to block as many as they could, their bodies being peppered in the needles, making it difficult to move. Naruto noticed the flash of movement again, but was faster on his reaction. Futen, Daidappa. He had intended on knocking Haku off course and out of the mirrors, but he was too slow. He did, however, manage to knock a great deal of the thrown senbon out of the air. Haku saw the move used and realized that he could only knock the senbon out of the air in one direction, but was not fast enough to track her movements. They were standing back to back, meaning that Sasuke could not see the jutsu and had failed to copy it. The solution was simple: attack Sasuke and get him out of the way, then once he was dealt with, simply wait until Naruto was open and place him into a near-death state like she had done Zabuza. Simple enough, though she would have to start trying to do more than simply knock Sasuke out. Her attempts had thus far been unsuccessful. She would have to resort to maiming him if necessary. The boys were carefully watching the mirrors when they saw all of them go through a short chain of hand seals as one. Mizu no Yaiba, Haku announced. Before Sasuke or Naruto could react, 4 of the mirrors had melted and were now forming blades of water, all aimed at Sasuke. They all converged upon him, leaving lacerations on both his arms, across his body, and on his left shoulder. This was all Sasuke's body could handle. He had withstood the brutal attacks Haku had inflicted. He had endured the countless senbon that had pierced his body. But this was too much for one body to handle. He collapsed under the strain he was feeling and passed out. I thought you hated killing. Why have you done this? If you had stepped aside, all this could have been avoided. I could say the same to you, Naruto-san. If your friend had not chosen to fight, he would not be in this condition. As it is, he still lives, though he will die from his injuries if not treated soon. Naruto tensed at the information. Do you truly mean what you say? Do you truly wish to avoid his death? I do, but there was no other option. Let me take him to Sakura. She is a medic, she can help him. Haku gave him an appraising look before responding. Very well, but if you do not return immediately to finish this, then I will simply go after the bridge builder. Naruto gave a short nod in recognition, before taking Sasuke's battered and bleeding body to Sakura. Sakura saw a figure approaching out of the mist. When she saw that it was Naruto, she almost relaxed. Almost? When she noticed that he was carrying Sasuke bleeding and unconscious, she feared the worst. Not giving her any time, Naruto immediately spoke. "Sakura, he's still alive. You have to look after him while I take care of Haku." He set Sasuke down. Sakura started working on healing him in an instant, using Shosen Jutsu in an attempt to heal the wounds. Shosen Jutsu was not designed to heal such large wounds, but it was better than nothing, and so she tried. When Naruto arrived back at the scene of the domes, he noticed that they were all missing, only to find Haku standing in the middle of the bridge waiting for his return. "I'm glad you decided to finish this. I didn't want to have to kill the bridge builder myself." Naruto wasted no words. He charged forwards, sending a left hook right at Haku's head. She bent backwards and planted her hands on the ground before pushing off the ground with her feet, connecting with Naruto's chin on the way up. Naruto stumbled back slightly from the blow. Before he had completely regained his senses, Haku was already on the offensive. She sent a knee right towards his stomach. Parrying her left knee with his left hand, Naruto used his free hand to punch Haku in the ribs as her momentum carried her past. Both stood firm, massaging different part of their body. There was a surprising amount of power behind each blow. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto was instantly surrounded by 4 Bunshins, each drawing a kunai. One launched a kunai, closely followed by another. The remaining 2 and the real Naruto closed the distance between Haku and themselves, kunai at the ready. The first thrown kunai was evaded, the second was plucked out of the air with little effort. She held the kunai in a reverse grip and ducked under a slash from one of the Naruto replicas before stabbing it between the ribs and causing it to poof out of existence. The second Bunshin was already on her, aiming to stab her in the chest with its kunai. She guided the kunai and the Bunshin's fist away from her, causing the Bunshin to run too far in the direction it was redirected. Before it could turn around, she had thrown the kunai she was wielding at it, making it disappear in a puff of smoke as well. There was only one left charging, the real Naruto, not that Haku knew, of course. She prepared herself for the attack. Deftly swatting the stab to the side, she proceeded to forcefully jab the pressure receptor in the carotid artery, causing the victim to fall to the ground. She did not even wait for the Bunshin to disperse. She continued on to the remaining 2 opponents before noticing that they had disappeared. She looked back to where the last Bunshin was to see Naruto passed out on the floor. She looked to the mist and noticed that it was starting to clear. Either Zabuza was losing concentration, or the battle was going on for some time and Kakashi was outlasting him. The latter seemed more likely. Haku rushed into the battle in an attempt to aid Zabuza in any way that she could. Kakashi had unsealed his ninjato from his ANBU days. It was proving to be a very effective strategy. While Zabuza was more than used to using his sword, both he and Kakashi seemed to be of an equal level physically, so it was hardly surprising when Kakashi had landed a few hits with the weapon. While it was heavier than a kunai, it had a far greater reach and was still far lighter than Kubikiri Honcho. Kakashi appeared to have his fair share of bruises from being dent flying by Zabuza's heavier weapon, but Zabuza was sporting some rather deep cuts from Kakashi's blade. Currently they were dueling for supremacy with their blades locked, Kakashi supporting the blunt of his blade with his free hand. He quickly had to end the contest as he noticed Haku sent a barrage of senbon his way. "Haku, stay out of this. This is my fight," Zabuza ordered. "Zabuza, we need to finish this. I will help you, then you can finish the bridge builder and complete the mission." The trio started trading blows again, Zabuza keeping to his kenjutsu techniques while Haku was throwing senbon from a distance. Zabuza had slowed sufficiently, a telltale sign that wielding the heavy sword was taking its toll. Every time Kakashi moved in for a clean blow, he was forced to dodge by a volley of senbon. When he went after Haku, he was blocked by Zabuza. Eventually, growing tired of getting nowhere, he formed his own plan in his head. "Tazuna, forgive me for this." He said a silent apology before making a Kage Bunshin. The clone went chasing after Haku, which Zabuza immediately intercepted. He put up very little resistance when he tried to cut it in half. His was about to blade connect with the clone. "Katsu," Kakashi intoned, just as the Bunshin was about to be destroyed. It exploded right in front of Zabuza, sending him flying. While dust from the destroyed bridge was still floating in the air, Kakashi quickly made his way towards Haku. She was unable to see clearly when the dust flew into the air. Sensing something move to her right, she threw the senbon in her hands. She heard a poof indicating she must have been a shadow clone. By now she was on high alert. Something tripped her senses. Again, just out of her field of vision, throwing the senbon in the general direction, she heard the clang of objects metal hitting each other. "So that's where you are," she thought triumphantly, throwing more senbon in the area. While she was distracted, she never noticed that the real Kakashi was coming behind her. The one she was aiming at was simply a Kage Bunshin used to distract her. She froze her actions immediately when she felt the cold steel of Kakashi's ninjato against her throat. "Don't move," he ordered. The dust now settling from the explosion, Zabuza could now see the predicament that his apprentice had gotten herself into. Gato had organized an army of thugs, mercenaries, and even a few rogue samurai. They were en route to the bridge now where the fight between Zabuza and Kakashi would take place. He looked behind himself and grinned. By the time he and his army arrived, everybody would either be dead or too weak to fight. He could simply kill of all the ninja and forget about having to pay Zabuza. He would dearly love to have the head of that girl, Zabuza's apprentice, for breaking his hand. When he arrived at the bridge, he saw the remnants of the battle. There were gouges and craters all across the bridge. H smiled maniacally when he saw that the girl was a hair's breadth away from losing her head just as he would have wanted. Had he waited a moment longer, he may have had his wish, but he decided to speak. Ninja-san, how kind of you to take out our trash. Gato, what are you doing here? This is our fight. Get lost and let me finish my job. Zabuza responded. Your job? You no longer have a job. The so-called demon of the mist defeated by one man and a group of kids. Pathetic. I'll have these do the job for me, he said, motioning to the army behind him. They charge far less, some even do it for free, providing I allow them certain pleasures afterwards. He grinned sickly. Inaru, Kakashi, it seems that we no longer have a quarrel. Kakashi nodded and released Haku while Zabuza nodded and released the Kirigakure Jutsu. I will let them run wild in the town for a little while, he informed. His men cheered behind him, anticipating the fun they were going to have. An arrow lodged itself in the ground right in front of Gato. It was Inari and the townspeople that he had managed to gather in hopes of defeating Gato. You aren't going to set one foot in the village. Your days are over, Inari yelled. Gato grunted in frustration, then he noticed a small pile of something not 10 meters in front of him. Realizing that it was the unconscious body of a boy dressed in orange, he motioned for a rogue samurai to pick it up. The man with brown hair growing in 3 large tufts on his head and a tattoo on his left arm complied and brought it back to his master. It seems you all didn't learn your lesson when I killed Kaiza. Maybe this time you will realize that I will kill anyone who defies me. Kakashi realized what was happening but couldn't get there fast enough. 2 of the samurai were holding Naruto's unconscious form, while a third, the one with tattoos, was lining his blade with Naruto's neck. It was over in an instant. Naruto's head parted company from his body. Kakashi slowed to a stop. His little brother was dead. He had failed as sensei. Sakura was in tears. Her teammate was dead and she could do nothing about it. Inari fainted at the sight. His poor mind could not handle the sight of losing another person that had inspired him. Naruto, along with his teammates and sensei, had helped him fully understand Kaiza's words, and now he was gone. Haku was in a state of shock. She started walking towards his remains, disregarding the fact that it was right in the middle of an enemy army. Naruto. She screamed in anguish. She had just met a person that had understood her pain, and now he was gone. Hearing the scream, the samurai responsible for beheading Naruto smirked at Haku. What's wrong? Did I just kill your boyfriend? Well, he's still warm if you want a goodbye kiss. His comrades chuckled darkly at the words as he held up Naruto's head for all to see. It was true. Naruto's head was still warm after being killed, very warm in fact. Argh! The samurai screamed in pain, dropping Naruto's head as though it had burned him. This got strange looks from everyone. He watched the head as he nursed his hand, which was now blistering from the heat Naruto's severed head was now producing. As they watched the head, red flames started licking at his hair, spreading down his face until his entire head was consumed in a fiery blaze. Likewise, his body started to heat up. Flames started erupting from his body until it too was completely ablaze. The flames went from a red to a bright blue. Gato's army that was standing nearby could feel the heat coming of his body. They all just stood there rooted to the spot, watching as his body continued to burn. Sakura was watching the whole thing. She watched as his body started to burn. She was so surprised that she was shocked out of her tears. Kakashi hoped against hope that this would somehow be a good thing and that everything would somehow work out. They continued watching as the flame changes color once again, moving from the intense blue to a blinding white. Gato's army was slowly being killed. The heat was so intense from Naruto's body that it was killing them where they stood, burning them alive. Even Kakashi from where he stood could feel the intense heat and realized just how hot it must be from where the army was standing. Those at the back of the army were finding it incredibly hard to breathe. Then it hit them. The fire from the boy's body was so intense that all the oxygen in the area was being consumed by it. They were slowly suffocating as their air around them was consumed by the inferno. Just as suddenly as it had started, the flames slowly died down, going back through the blue flame before receding to the red flame and finally disappearing to cool down. Once the flames were gone, it was possible to see Naruto's body, whole and complete, as though he was never beheaded. All around him stood piles of ash, the incinerated bodies of Gato and his army. Further back, countless bodies lay where they had suffocated from the severe lack of oxygen. Kakashi looked on, astounded at the sight before him. Naruto's head was severed, right before his very eyes. Then not a minute later his body and head erupted into flames. When the flames died out, his killers were all dead while his body was completely reformed. Sakura for her part dared not get her hopes up. She wouldn't rejoice until she felt his pulse. She got up and ran towards Naruto, only to be stopped by Kakashi grabbing her arm. You saw what happened. You saw the intensity of those flames. We can't be sure how hot it is in there. Understanding that she may have potentially rushed into her death, she waited by her sensei. Haku, unwilling to wait, decided to speed up the process by summoning copious amounts of water to the area. As soon as it hit the ground, it evaporated. Kakashi and Zabuza merely watched her. They could have easily helped her with a Suryudan, but on the off chance that they hit Naruto, they did not want to risk it. Eventually the water stopped evaporating and just started to pool on the ground around Naruto, an indication that it was closer to being a temperature suitable for humans. Kakashi along with Haku and Sakura rushed in to check his vitals. Kakashi, being the fastest of the three, got there first and almost cried with joy at finding a strong and steady heartbeat. "He's alive," he informed the two girls. Sakura broke down into tears from all the strain. First Sasuke was brought to her nearly dead, then her other teammate dies shortly after, only to be reincarnated. Haku let go of a breath she didn't even know she was holding as the warm feeling of relief flooded through her body. "We should all go back to Tezuna's house so Naruto and Sasuke can rest," Kakashi suggested. Tezuna looked somewhat apprehensive. He wasn't sure if Kakashi was including Zabuza and Haku in that. Sensing his unease, Zabuza spoke to him. "Relax, without an employer I have no reason to kill you." With it they all moved out, Tezuna carrying an unconscious Inari, Sakura and Haku sharing the burden that was Naruto, and Kakashi picking up Sasuke by himself. MINDSCAPE. Naruto was in front of the seal that contained Rei. "What the hell happened? You died and were brought back to life. Remember, you are immortal. Your body is simply unused to the strain of reforming." Rei answered calmly. "Well, at least I have your chakra to help me recover." "What are you talking about? Every time I was beaten, your chakra helped recover." "My chakra can do nothing of the sort. It is toxic in any amount. Even though it grants you great power when you use it, your body has to purge itself clean of my chakra, getting rid of it from your coils. In short, my chakra has no healing capabilities whatsoever," she informed. If Naruto had looked closely enough, he would have seen that Rei's eyes were wells of sorrow. "That leaves two questions then. First of all, how do I heal when my body is damaged? Secondly, how do you heal when your chakra has no healing capabilities?" Naruto voiced aloud, looking somewhat vexed. "I can answer both, though it is more pressing that I answer your first question. How I heal myself. Yes, I think I can say with some degree of certainty that you are not just a simple orphan, but you come from a clan." Looking very interested, Naruto gave Rei his undivided attention. "See if you can work it out from the clues I give you. First off, you have an extreme affinity for fire. Second, your body recovers from incredible damage in almost no time at all. Finally, when you die, you burst into flame, to be reborn whole again. What creature does that sound like to you?" The first two aren't really all that specific, but the last clue, "It reminds me of a phoenix," Naruto replied. "But that's ridiculous, there isn't a clan of phoenixes. There was at one time, before they all died. Apparently you are the last," Rei replied solemnly. "Died? I thought you said that I was immortal." "You are, phoenixes are not. Not completely, anyway. A phoenix has finite lifespan. When its natural life is over it simply turns to ash, it's just that they can't be killed in battle. The fact that you are immortal tells me that there is more to your heritage than meets the eye." Naruto pondered the point for a moment longer. He was about to leave when Rei stopped him. "Naruto, could you ... if it isn't too much trouble, could you at all visit or at least talk to me more often?" She stumbled on her words, unsure of how to get her message across, finally being as blunt as possible. He looked at her for a second and then realized he had not been to the seal since he was last unconscious. He had barely made use of the mental connection they shared. "If you don't want anything to do with me, I can understand. I was sealed in you and made your life hell. I can't do anything for you, and if I try I end up poisoning you," she said in a rush, all the while her head sinking lower to the ground. He looked at her and felt regret. He had ignored her all this time. He wouldn't let that happen again. He walked through the bars that separated them and put a hand to her front left leg before hugging it. She couldn't believe it. After all the pain she had caused him here, he was hugging her leg like he had no issue with her at all. "Don't you hate me? I have caused you nothing but suffering at every step of your life. You explained to me that the attack was not your fault. Every time I see you here, you do nothing but dispel all of the beliefs that I once held about demons. You ask for a friend and some company, you are always polite and have even provided me with some information about my background." She looked at him appraisingly before making her decision. "Step back for a second." He looked at her in confusion but obeyed nonetheless. A strained look came across her face before she started to shrink, her fur receding into her body. Her face shortened and became more rounded. Finally, the only fur to lengthen was the fur on her head. When the transformation was complete, he was faced with a woman that was 5'6" and fiery red hair. She was wearing a black kimono with a sliver obi around her waist and a design of a silver fox adorned her back. Her black zori sandals also had silver straps. While she was dressed modestly, her features were only accentuated by her kimono. Her kimono adequately covered everything, yet it was impossible not to notice that she had a somewhat sizable bust, particularly when Naruto found that he was only at her chest height, and that's where his eyes happened to be if he stared straight ahead. With how tightly the obi was tied around her waist, it was possible to see that she only had a slight frame as he surveyed her whole body. Her body tapered down from her slender shoulders to her waist before flaring out again for her hips, giving her a full-figured appearance. When he looked at her face, he was captivated. Her alabaster skin looked so beautifully smooth and her features just seemed perfect. She had high cheekbones and a slender face. Her eyes were big and the most entrancing shade of blood red, captivating him as though he were her prey. He was snapped out of his mind's wanderings when he felt her arms snake around his body and envelop him in a hug. They stayed like that for a while before Naruto realized that his shoulder was wet and he could just barely make out Rei saying thank you over and over. He pulled himself from her grasp and looked at her. Thank you for what? For not hating me, for not leaving me here alone, for understanding. All he could do was smile. He didn't really have anything appropriate to say. Did you ever find it within you to forgive me? There isn't a need. There is nothing to forgive. Everything was out of your control. You were ordered here by a god, not something that you can really go against. Naruxfemhaku sent you into the rage. You weren't in control of yourself. The Yondaime sealed you into me, something I'm sure you never asked for. And the villagers, well, they are just blind. They have been told the truth, most have disregarded it and come to their own conclusions, albeit incorrect ones. She looked at him once more, fresh tears springing forth. She hugged him once more and cried while he simply returned the hug. Nothing more was said for quite some time. All good things had to come to an end. Both Naruto and Rei realized that they couldn't stay like this for too much longer. Before leaving, Rei reminded Naruto of her request. You will still speak to me, won't you, even while you're not here? Or even visit me once in a while? Don't worry, I won't forget. Naruto promised her, he disappointed with himself for having abandoned her in this way, vowing never to do it again. He awoke with a start. He took a deep breath through his nose to find the pleasant aroma of cooking food wafting through the air. He could make out bacon and eggs. Walking downstairs, he saw Tsunami at the stove tending to the food. Tazuna, Kakashi, and Zabuza were all sitting around the table. Naruto froze. What the hell was Zabuza doing here? He observed the situation before being called out of his hiding place by Kakashi. Naruto, relax, it's all right. You were unconscious and many things happened. So fill me in. Well, after Haku knocked you out, she came and helped Zabuza to fight me. After a short exchange, I managed to gain the upper hand and was in position to kill Haku. They are not the same thing, Kakashi. Zabuza snarled. Yes, they are. If you didn't back off, then Haku would have died. Naruto interjected. Well, anyway, that was when Kakashi continued, only to be interrupted mid-sentence. Realizing that this was going to be quite a heated exchange, Kakashi stopped his story to save it for later and prepared to step in if necessary. She is merely a tool used for killing. If the tool can't kill or is broken, then it is useless to me. She is human before that. She said that she has her own dreams. I really hate to question them, but when she says to live and serve my precious person, I wonder who gave her that dream. If she hadn't referred to you as somebody precious, I would have said you placed it there. Naruto countered angrily. She had no life before me, so what does it matter if I use her life how I please? If a person gave you a hammer and told you it was to be used as a screwdriver, would you do it? Naruto asked coldly. What? No, that's just stupid. My point exactly. You have given her a purpose in life, the wrong purpose. Naruto was now yelling. She hates killing, yet she does it for you, because that is the purpose you gave her. Give her a reason to live, a different one. Naruto finished in a far softer tone. Zabuza was regarding Naruto carefully. Even if I wanted to, I can't. If I were to give her a different purpose, she would die. I need someone that will kill. Otherwise they will get in my way and only slow me down. Being hunted does not give me that luxury, Zabuza stated, trying to Naruto to understand the life of a nuke nin. Then settle down in a different village. Naruto replied hopefully. Boy, there isn't a village on Earth that would take me in. I am a high-ranking criminal. Kakashi is putting a lot on the line by even letting me live this long. Naruto looked at his sensei and asked the question outright. What did he do that could be so bad? There are many reasons why not to accept me. The most pressing and the one that resulted in my branding as a nuke nin was that I tried to kill my cage. Naruto's eyes widened. He tried to kill the leader of his own village. Kakashi broke into the conversation, trying to help Naruto grasp the situation easier. Naruto, if Leaf takes him in, then it is almost an open invitation to war. Realizing what he had suggested, Naruto looked considerably subdued. Kakashi realized that this was the time to finish his story after there was no more argument between the two. Okay, as I was saying, Gato appeared when I had my sword to Haku's neck and effectively fired Zabuza. You were killed, beheaded, by Gato's men, only to burst into flame and be reincarnated whole again. Kakashi was incredibly interested in how that happened, but knew better than to ask in front of potential enemies. They may have reached a truce, but Zabuza was a loose cannon. He left to ponder the situation. Zabuza himself had been given quite a lot to think about. Naruto found his teammates, Haku and Inari, lazing around in the forest near the house. His teammates had been given time off to recuperate from the past few days. They all smiled at him when he arrived, and Inari ran up and tackled him to the ground in a hug. Naruto Nachin is awake. H practically yelled into Naruto's stomach. He prized himself free of Inari's grip and went to greet his two teammates. Sakura went and hugged him. When you died. It was still very hard for her to say that her teammate had died when you died. I couldn't believe it. Don't ever make us worry like that again, otherwise I might make you regret coming back. Sakura-san, Sasuke-san, I'm sorry. Haku's reaction was perhaps the strangest and most unexpected. She slapped him across the cheek. Sakura and Sasuke's eyes bulged at the treatment. That was for dying and causing me so much pain, for leaving me when I had finally found someone that understood my pain and someone to share the burden with, she said with a steely look in her eyes. His gaze softened before continuing. And this is for coming back to me. Us. She corrected herself before pecking him on the cheek that she had slapped. Naruto blushed from the roots of his hair to the line where his body disappeared into his shirt. Well, I never thought I'd see the day you turned into a walking tomato. Tomatoes, Sasuke mused. Shut it, you moron, was the only response Naruto could think of in his flustered state. Haku just giggled at their antics. Tsunami-san is cooking, so we may as well go have something to eat. It should be ready by now. They all trekked back to the house and got something to eat. The rest of the day was spent talking and lazing about. It was decided that they would move out the next day, giving Naruto one more day of recovery. The next morning nearly the entire village sent them on their way back to Konoha. It was quite an emotional scene for Inari, who felt as though he was losing yet another person that he held dear. Don't worry, I'll visit every once in a while, Naruto assured the young boy on the verge of tears. You promise? I promise. A short while out of the village they ran into Zabuza and Haku. Zabuza was the first to speak and cut straight to business. Kakashi, I have a favor to ask. Want you to take Haku back to Konoha with you. The request shocked everyone present, including Haku. She looked at him like she had been mortally wounded. Am I no longer useful? She asked plainly. You are still useful, Haku. But sooner or later the weapon will be without a master and then you will be back to square one. While he talked as he always had, Kakashi and Haku noticed the changed look in his eyes, not the hard look he always bore, but a softer look. Haku looked at him and asked, What will you do without me? I am going to die, he said without hesitation. Haku gave him a shocked look and was about to protest when she saw him remove his headband and give them Kubikiri Honcho. A look of understanding swept across Kakashi's face and then he said, Well, thank you for helping us in killing Zabuza. Kakashi left it open for him to fill in his new name. Before he could respond, Haku thought of one for him. Taro Momo, she said with a slight smile around her lips. Naruto sniggered. Zabuza thought about it and then surprisingly agreed. Fine, Taro Momo it is. If you ever want to find me again, look me up as Nami's new guardian. Why can't Haku-san stay with you and help guard Wave? Sekura asked. Zabuza cast a quick glance at Naruto before answering. To find a purpose other than killing. I can't provide her with that. He received a quick nod of acknowledgement from Naruto and a goodbye hug from Haku before the group turned around to head home. The trip back was completely uneventful save for the idle banter between the five on the way home. Naruto was dipping in and out of the conversations, only responding when he was addressed directly. He was actually talking to Ri on the way home. You mentioned some of the Phoenix's traits when I was at the seal last. Is there anything else I should know about anything? There are quite a few things that you need to be made aware of now. It will all come in good time. But if you mean about any other traits of the Phoenixes, I'm afraid I don't know all of their abilities. After all, they are probably well-guarded secrets. I see. Actually, when I was last at the seal you also said that you could answer the reason why you don't need to heal yourself when you get damaged in battle. Yes, that's right, I did say that. Well, basically the reason being is that I can't be damaged. Can't be damaged? Not in the true sense of the word, no. You see, you and I are fundamentally different. While we are both immortal, but you are alive, I am not. Wait, what? If you aren't alive, then how do you exist? Do anything that the rest of us do, such as interact with our environment? Naruto, I am merely a mass of chakra condensed into a physical form. It takes a lot of chakra to make it physical. You saw how large I am in my fox form. Between you Kakashi and Zabuza at full power you still wouldn't have enough to form a complete leg. Naruto remained silent, understanding just how much chakra any of the demons possessed. I thought that the more tails you had in the demon world, the more chakra and the higher your ranking. Correct. If it takes that much chakra to make a leg, think about the amount it takes to make a tail. The truth is that when we have more than what is necessary to make a standard body, they get turned into tails for convenience. Useful for battle, and extra legs would look unsightly. Many of your species measure power by how much chakra they have. In this sense we are merely power with an attached soul, a living weapon if you will. It really was mind-numbing stuff. He remained silent from all conversations for the rest of the trip home, trying to get his head around what he had just heard. It also left a few questions. Rei described herself as power with a soul. Why would Kami send someone like that to be my companion for eternity? Why not send a person who was alive instead of what could essentially be classed as a weapon? Not that he would ever regard Rei in that way after berating Taro about it. No matter how much he pondered these 2 points, he couldn't come up with an answer. If you are chakra, then how come you appear as a fox? That is simple enough. I appear that way because I have a sort of connection to foxes. It's not really anything solid. I just find myself drawn to the image of a fox, in the same way that I envisage my human appearance. That is why I appear as I do. They all arrived at village after a few days of traveling. Their first stop was the Hokage Tower after getting clearance to enter the village from the guards. Hokage-sama, reporting back after an rank mission to Wave. Kakashi announced as he entered the office with his team. The Hokage and Uruka, who was in the office helping with paperwork, gave him a quizzical look. Care to repeat that? I fear I may have misheard you, he requested. Team 7 reporting back from their rank mission to Wave. Explain. It was more of an order than a request. Well, not long after leaving we were ambushed by the Demon Brothers, the Nuke Nin from Kiri. It came to light that Tazuna had deceived us and that he was marked as dead by Gato, the shipping magnate. Well, as we traveled further we encountered Zabuza, the Demon of the Mist. He and I did battle, resulting in my victory. Before I could kill him, his apprentice, Haku, saved him by posing as an Oi Nin and putting him in a near-death trance using Senbon. She took his body away for disposal. A mere 5 days later he confronted us on the bridge Tazuna was working on and rematched against us. Before either master or apprentice could be killed, Gato appeared with an army, putting the fight to a premature end. Kakashi eyed the Hokage, waiting for the reaction when he broke the next piece of news. When he arrived, he saw Naruto unconscious on the ground and ordered one of his samurai to behead Naruto. It was over in an instant. Naruto's head was lopped clean of his body. From his vantage point, Iruka could not see Naruto. He spat out his coffee and yelled at Kakashi, "How can you act so calmly when one of your students is dead?" "Iruka-sensei, I'm right here," Naruto reassured. "But ... you're dead." "Well, if I may continue," Naruto burst into a flame intense enough to kill all those around him. When the flames died down, Naruto was left at the center, his body reformed. By now Sarutobi was rubbing his temple, trying to filter through what he had just heard and avoid a massive headache. "So what happened to Zabuza in the end?" "I see his sword." "Did he die?" "Iruka, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave," Kakashi asked. Iruka gave him a patient look, almost as if asking for some sort of an explanation. "What I'm about to tell the Hokage is confidential, and the less people that I put in danger with this secret the better." Giving an understanding nod, Iruka walked out. "Please call me back when you are done." "We will." "ANBU, you have a 5-minute break," the Hokage assured before dismissing his ANBU. Once everyone had gone, Kakashi continued. "He discarded his identity as the Demon of the Mist. He is now guarding Nami no Kuni. We took his sword and headband as evidence, seeing as we can't really take his head. Haku has decided to resettle in Konoha to pursue a different lifestyle." "I see. Call Iruka and the ANBU back in." Iruka walked in. The ANBU were nowhere to be seen. Sarutobi had long since given up on trying to ward off his headache, and it was about to intensify in a short while. "And this is Haku, I presume?" "Yes, sir," Haku responded. "Well, what do you seek in the Hidden Leaf?" "To become a member of our ninja ranks. You could easily do so with Kakashi's recommendation. If at all possible, I'd like to study to be a hospital Uryu nin. It can be arranged. Perhaps you would like to work with Sakura. She is also training to be an Uryu nin, though with a field speciality." Not seeing any objections, he decided to arrange it for later. "Kat-san, please take Haku-san to the hotel nearest to Konoha General Hospital and check her in. Tell the attendant that I will sort out payment for the first 2 weeks." An ANBU in battle armor appeared and beckoned Haku towards the door. "Very well, everyone but Naruto is dismissed. That includes the ANBU and you, Iruka." Everybody trudged out of the office. Iruka could be heard grumbling something like, "Calling us in and then dismissing us 2 minutes later." Kakashi waited just outside the door while "Naruto, I have something for you. This was entrusted to me to give to you. I had not planned on giving them to you this early, but after the events in Wave, perhaps you will find answers in these." Sarutobi handed Naruto 2 scrolls, both addressed to him. Naruto opened the scrolls and started reading. First to be opened was the one that had rougher writing, leaving the scroll that bore writing more similar to calligraphy for later. "Naruto, if you are reading this, then the first thing I should do is congratulate you on becoming a genin. This scroll is the only message that I can leave you, as by the time you do read it I will be long dead. My name is Minato Namikaze, better known as the Yondaime Hokage. Now that you know this, I must first apologize to you for the burden I left you with you. In case you are not aware, I did not kill the Kyuubi, I merely sealed it into a baby, you. I am sorry to have left with such a burden, but the only person I could ever truly trust was my own family, my own flesh and blood. Naruto, I am your father. Please know that your parents did not abandon you, we both died before you could even meet us. The seal I used to seal the Kyuubi into you calls forth Shinigami. As such, I am required to give my life in exchange for his services. Your mother's soul and my soul are tied together by a marriage pact. When my soul enters the belly of the Shinigami, so will hers. This marriage, the pact, is no ordinary pact. It is the pact of my clan and yours, the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Clan is an ancient clan originating from the borders of Suna and Iwa. I will not include too much information in this letter, as everything you need to know will be in the clan scroll sealed in this scroll. Yours truly, Minato Uzumaki Namikaze. Naruto's eyes were burning with tears. Not from sorrow, but from anger. Rage. He felt white-hot rage. This scroll. It was supposed to be given to me when I graduated and became a genin. He looked at Sarutobi with nothing short of pure rage. Sarutobi had thought he had seen all of Naruto's emotions, but this was different. Why did you keep this from me? He roared at Sarutobi. Kakashi entered the room in a flash. Naruto, are you okay? Naruto, read the other letter before you start anything. Perhaps it may explain his actions. It was Rei's voice that pierced through his clouded mind and caused him to calm down slightly. He cast his eyes back to the scroll, but not before telling Kakashi what was going on. Hokage-sama has withheld a letter from my parents that was supposed to have been passed to me on my graduation from the academy to a genin. Kakashi remained silent, unsure what to say. Naruto, I regret to tell you that by the time you read this scroll, I too will be long gone like your father. My name is Kushina Uzumaki. Please forgive the both of us with the curse we have left you. When your father suggested that we seal the fox into you, I refused, not wanting to damn you to such a torture. Please know that when your father mentioned it to me, he looked most sorrowful. He had no other choice. The fox was just far too powerful for us to kill. Like your father, I too belong to a clan, the Phoenix Clan. The many things that you must know are detailed in the clan scroll that I left for you. The oneness that I must mention now is that when phoenixes die we burst into flame. This flame is so intense that it consumes nearly all the oxygen in the area and renders nearly anything to ash. Please be aware of that. As a final message from the both of us, know that we loved you deeply and that your parents never abandoned you. Yours sincerely, Kushina Namikaze. He took several deep breaths to try to calm himself down. It failed completely. Rei-san, there is nothing there that excuses him. I know, Naruto-san. I won't interfere. He gave both of the scrolls to Kakashi to read while he spoke to the Hokage. I'll ask again. Why did you keep those from me? Naruto, you have to understand my line of thinking. Your father was a hero here, but considered a villain in Iwa. I feared that you would want to take on his name as soon as you found out. Then every assassination squad from Iwa, and even their allies Kumo, would be after your life. I couldn't put you in such danger. The Naruto, Sarutobai's defense was as feeble a newborn baby. You could have told me and gone hardline that I couldn't take the name until I had earned it, or until I was truly ready to take on his enemies. Do you have any idea how many times I have wondered who my parents were? Whether they died in Rei's attack? Whether they abandoned me because of the ceiling? I still stand by what I said. It could have been dangerous. I'm not sure which one insults me more. The Hokage looked at him wondering what he was talking about. He was not left in doubt for very long as Naruto explained himself. I'm not sure whether you thinking so little of me is my main point of frustration or whether it's the fact that you ignored my father's last wish. A man who was entrusted with the well-being of this village, a man that you handpicked over your own student to become Hokage. Did you really have such little faith in him? Sarutobai's jaw slackened at the different point of view. He had noticed Kakashi had finished reading the letter and looked to him for some support. When he saw the cold look that was being returned, he realized that he would receive none. The one thing that I cannot truly forgive you for is putting my teammates at risk. I never put anyone at risk, Sarutobai answered hotly. It was one thing to have your faults pointed out by a genin, it was another to be accused of something he had never done. No, you heard the report. Think about what would have happened if I had died standing next to my teammates. They would have been reduced to ashes along with the surrounding area. It was strange to see the Hokage, a man one referred to as the professor of shinobi, squirm under the furious gaze of one of his subordinates. I wasn't to know that would happen. You can't hold me responsible for everything. No, you weren't to know, but my mother did. That is why both my mother and father stated that the scrolls were to be given when I became a genin. They knew the risk of dying would increase as I started my shinobi career. Sarutobai looked as though he had a sudden epiphany. He had realized what he had done, but feared that this may have put a very heavy dent on his relationship with Naruto. Can you ever forgive me for this? Sarutobai asked Naruto, almost pleading with him. Eventually, I may forgive you, but it will never be forgotten, he said as he walked out. Kakashi followed soon after, leaving the old man to his thoughts. Once out of the Hokage Tower, Kakashi turned to Naruto. What are you going to do now? I think that I'll take the clan scrolls out and read through them. Then I might blow off a little steam in a training session. Naruto looked at the seals on the scrolls in front of him. How do I get these things out exactly? They are probably blood seals, designed so that only you could get the contents inside. All you have to do is swipe some of your blood over the seal and it should release. Grabbing out a kunai, Naruto sliced his thumb and swiped his blood across the seal on each scroll. With a poof of smoke, he was now holding 2 more scrolls in his hands. Here, take these back home and store them very safely. It wouldn't be good if someone found these, he said to Kakashi, handing the letters from his parents to him. I'll see you later. Naruto bid Kakashi farewell, not even bothering to look up from the unopened scrolls before he went in the direction of the training grounds. He had arrived at the most secluded training grounds that he could think of, Training Ground 44. Kakashi said that it was the place that he went to train when he did not want to be disturbed. He said that only a select few people train here and they generally leave you alone. Are you going to get straight into training? Or will you look at those scrolls first? Rei asked. I think I'll look into the scrolls first, just to see what my clans were able to do. You're welcome to look in if you feel like you have access to my thoughts, right? Only the ones you give me access to. Well, feel free to join in. Thank you. He walked up to one of the large trees growing all through the training ground and perched himself on one of the thicker branches. He opened the clan scrolls, the red one first. Naruto, the first thing that you need to understand is that this is not the original clan scroll. This is only what I know of our techniques and abilities. Before I write about our techniques and abilities, I feel it is necessary to give you some insight to how we acquired them in the first place. This may be very difficult for you to believe, but as far as I am aware, it is the truth. The abilities of the Phoenix clan were granted by the gods themselves. I do not know what it was our clan did to garner favor with the gods, but nonetheless they have seen fit to bestow this power upon us. Both your father and I have tried to research into the matter as his clan is very similar. Sadly, all our research did not yield a definitive answer. In any case, the main point of this document is for me to inform you of the clan abilities and techniques. The defining feature of our clan is to burst into flame upon our death. When this flame dies out, the phoenix will be reborn. The only thing that you need to note about this is that everything within a certain distance will be rendered to ashes. The next ability is that the water of our body is blessed to have amazing healing qualities. Many though it was simply our tears that had the healing capabilities. In truth, tears were the most acceptable for of healing an ally. Spitting is disgusting. Many find drinking blood repugnant, and I will not even discuss the problems with using urine. For some reason this ability heals others far faster than it heals ourselves, though our own healing rate is nothing to be sneezed at. Finally, these fluids cannot be stored for any substantial period of time, perhaps a day or so at best. Arguably the most powerful ability is our gift of using Galdrar. A Galdar is a song laced with our chakra that can have many amazing effects. Galdar are different from techniques in that you cannot simply practice the song, you will only learn them if there is ever a need. As such, it is possible to learn all of them, or learn none if you have no need. Galdar can be extremely exhausting to perform, depending on what is being sung. Finally, the phoenixes have a summoning contact. This summons is for phoenixes. Okay. What in the hell? That is just plain screwed up. Hey Ray, what do you make of that? No offense, but it seems stupid to summon one of your clan when you have the same abilities. None taken, and I agree with you. Naruto replied, forgiving the minor insult to his clan. This summoning contract is far different from every other contract you may be familiar with. Phoenixes die of old age, a point where we will not be reincarnated. Once we die, our spirits join the summoning scroll and we attain our phoenix form. To summon the phoenixes, simply sign the contract in blood and perform the hand signs dog, boar, monkey, bird, ram, then slam your hand on the ground and greet the summon. I should mention that the boss is Tabifashicho, one of our ancestors and a phoenix of epic proportions. While that explains a fair bit, Naruto thought to Ray. Indeed it does. Very unusual though. Souls that have died are destined to spend eternity in either hell or heaven, depending on their actions here on earth. What intrigues me is how your clan could have avoided this. There is more than a lot that concerns me that is unusual. Why couldn't I have just been a normal teenage boy working at the local food store? Because that would be boring. You'd get bored so easily and cause mischief for your employer, I suppose. Finally, the phoenixes have a taijutsu style that we practice. This style can be practiced by anyone and it does not utilize any of our other capabilities. This style is called Ryaikoku Kenryu. The style's underpinning is to use the power of rotation to add force to the blows dealt to the opponent, all the while using the same rotation to be able to evade or reduce the force any strikes against you. The basic stance is for the. Not reading any further, Ray asked, I have more than enough to think through, though a new taijutsu style would be better than the current one. Perhaps I can combine it with the academy style. Besides, there is a jutsu that I want to work on and I haven't got it yet after Kami knows how many months of practicing. You're talking about the Bunshin Bakuhatsu. Yeah, when I saw it in the Forbidden Scroll all those months ago I loved the idea, but I still can't get it. Did the scroll say what to do? Sure. All it said I had to do was make the cage Bunshin with a little extra chakra, then make the ram seal and order it to detonate. Once I'm good enough I'm supposed to be able to do it without the hand sign, just the command. So far I can only make the clone, but it detonates as soon as it appears. Show me, Ray commanded. He created the clone, it appeared right next to him only for a short moment before. Boom, Naruto went flying and a good 15 meters of the forest was now leveled into a small crater. Urgh, that hurt like hell. Naruto voiced his pain out aloud. So, you're putting in the extra chakra and it's exploding as soon as it is performed. Then try making an ordinary clone. Naruto complied, awaiting further instructions. Now commanded to explode. Naruto didn't even give it a second thought. He put his hands together in the ram and commanded his clone to explode. Unfortunately, he had forgotten to move away. Katsu, the clone exploded, sending him flying once more, crashing into the trunk of a tree while leaving another crater in the ground. Should have thought to move before I tried that. He groaned through his pain. Hey, how did that work? I'm gonna go off of an assumption and say that when you form clones you form them with enough chakra to make them exploding clones anyway. When you command the clone to explode it, use the chakra that returns to your body to destabilize the rest of the chakra in the clone and make it explode violently instead of gently returning to nature. Wait, chakra returns to my body. Destabilize chakra. What are you going on about? Haven't you ever noticed that when you create a clone you gain some of the clone's memories? Naruto remained silent, indicating that he was waiting for Ray to continue. I suppose it's because you always use them to help you with a task and your concentration is always on the same thing. In any case, how you suppose that is possible? Think about what I am. What are you? He asked rhetorically. You are a soul with chakra attached. You described yourself as a weapon. The cage Bunshin in its most basic sense is also a weapon. Does that mean that all my clones have a soul attached? Nearly. They all have a fragment of your soul, so when they disperse some of the chakra and the fragment of your soul returns to you, giving you the experiences of that soul. I'm guessing the reason that all your clones don't explode is because you are not using the chakra that returns to you to destabilize the rest of the clone and get it to explode. Ray explained. Wait, by using exploding clones does that mean that I'm losing pieces of my soul? Perhaps I didn't explain that too well. As mentioned, the clone is nothing more than chakra with a soul attached. All you are doing is completely removing all of the attached chakra and causing the clone to explode. The soul fragment comes back to you regardless, it's just that you don't regain any chakra from the technique either. Oh, I see. Naruto sighed, considerably relieved that he wasn't losing his soul. Now, I've just thought of a brilliant game that you can play to work on both you exploding clones and that new taijutsu in your mother's scroll. Naruto picked up the scroll and began reading from where he left off. The basic stance for Ryakoku Kenryu changes depending on which direction you wish to rotate. The direction of rotation is determined by two things, the preference of the user and the fighting of the opponent. An opponent that fight primarily using left-sided strike will be more evaded and countered by a right-to-left spin. The inverse is also true, and a person attacking with their right is better countered with a left-to-right spin. I see. So you're supposed to use pivots to simply evade the opponent and then strike by using the power of the pivot to strengthen the blow. Ray surmised to Naruto. I get that much, but how is the Bunshin Bakuhatsu going to help with learning this style? Simple. You create one and have it come at you. I assume the clones can either be innervated by you to explode or can do so on their own choosing, as they do have a part of your soul attached to make decisions for themselves. You will be trying to avoid its attacks because if you don't, then you know the result. Naruto's eyes widened and realized what she was talking about. Then that same uncanny grin came across his face and he set to work. Boom. Arg. God damn it. That's the 7th or 8th explosion in the last 20 minutes. Can't I ever get any peace and quiet around here? A woman screamed after hearing yet another explosion in the otherwise peaceful forest. Boom. Another explosion was heard not 5 minutes later. That does it. When I find the shit that is responsible for this, I'm gonna feed him to my snakes. The woman donned her tan-colored trench coat that was resting on a nearby tree branch before setting out. She silently leapt through the trees, hearing another 2 explosions in the 10 minutes that she was searching for her prey. When she came to an area that seemed almost leveled, she knew she had found her destination. She watched silently as boy with blonde hair wearing an orange jumpsuit fought, or rather tried to evade a clone. He was spinning out of all of the attacks that the clone was sending his way. What the hell is he doing? I've been watching him for 6 minutes and he has completely ignored all of the openings. Then the clone made contact and, boom, the boy was sent flying through the forest to crash into the tree that the woman was perched on. I get it now, he's training in evasion. Now that is just my style, training with a risk of death. The woman thought, all anger with him forgotten. She leaped down from her perch and approached the kid who was about to create another exploding clone. Hey kid. Naruto looked around and spotted a purple-haired woman with a tan trench coat, miniskirt, and not much else on. How about a training partner? Why would you do that? Naruto asked cautiously. It wasn't often that people he didn't know offered to help him unless they had their own agenda. 2 reasons of the explosions are annoying. B, I feel like beating up on something. Well, she had said it, she didn't hide the fact that she wanted to ground him to a pulp. Naruto, take to opportunity. Because she can't explode, she can give chase after she hits you. It will give you the chance to practice on countering after being knocked down. Naruto grinned at Rei's logic before addressing the woman. Before we start, what's your name? Anko Mitarashi. And you? Naruto Uzumaki. A look of recognition passed over Anko's face before she settled into a fighting stance. Now that the pleasantries are over, let's begin. And begin they did. Before Naruto even had a chance to begin his rotation, she was already upon him. She delivered an earth-shattering punch to his jaw, tilting his head back, putting it in the prime position for a punch to the throat. Naruto saw the fist coming and did the firstest that came to his head pivot. He spun around the right cross and attempted to use a back fist when she ducked out of the line of attack. While she was down low, she went for a strike to the ribs. He didn't stop pivoting all the while and brought his left knee to her head, making full contact. She dropped to the ground in a daze and he planted 2 knees between her should blades, keeping her pinned. Well, I win the first round, he said to her with some glee in her voice. Anko wore a maniacal grin and simply replied, I guess I underestimated you, before disappearing and then reappearing right next to Naruto. Screams of pain could be heard all across the forest, along with raucous cackling from another reveling in the first person's pain. Some hours later, we find Anko dropping an unconscious and heavily battered Naruto at the Konoha General Hospital. He was taken to his own personal room and seen to by Megumi. Megumi looked over Naruto with a simple scanning jutsu before turning to Anko. What in the hell happened? He has more broken ribs than I'd care to count and some severe bruising on his stomach and arms. Well, that's what happens when a genin tries to fight a jounin. Anko replied casually. You what? Megumi screeched, apoplectic with rage. Relax, I offered to help him to train. I underestimated him a little and he landed blow to the head, damn good one too. Well, I couldn't have him getting cocky, so I started going pretty hard. Trust Naruto to bite off more than he can chew. I wouldn't say more than he could chew. Anko corrected. He was landing a few hits after a while. It's almost as if he was improving with what he was doing there and then. Shaking her head, she stopped talking to Anko and started healing the boy of his injuries. Anko took this as her cue to leave and did exactly that. Naruto awoke to the look of a white roof. The hospital, he thought dully. That woman was incredibly powerful. You're telling me? I thought she was gonna kill me. At least she didn't leave me there. He mentally replied to his tenant. Ah, you're up. Well, that's unexpected. You were only out for a little over a day. It was Megumi that had just entered the room, this time with her 2 students. Don't worry, I've told Kakashi-sensei. He knows that you're here, Sakura assured her teammate. Cheers. I got knocked silly by Anko-san. Well, how do you feel? Sakura asked. Better after a night's recovery. Not physically. How do you feel letting a chick beat you? Damage your pride any? She smirked. She was only teasing. Well, it wouldn't be the first time that it's happened. Besides, the same girl that beat me also beat Sasuke. He replied, white, giving a pointed look in Haku's direction. Haku looked slightly sheepish. To be fair, Anko-san is a jounin. It was to be expected. The group remained silent. Naruto, I'm going to let Haku perform the scanning jutsu on you while Sakura can practice her Shosen jutsu to heal any minor wounds that might be left. You're pretty much healed anyway, Megumi informed, giving her apprentices the chance to practice as the remaining damage to Naruto was minimal. Haku went through a few hand seals before her hand started glowing green. She started at his head and moved her way lower until she had scanned his entire body. Nothing seems to be out of the ordinary, she said to her sensei. Megumi repeated the same process just in case she had missed something. Good work, Haku-san. Correct. Naruto, you are free to leave, but try to stay out of trouble. Thank you, Megumi-san. Haku, I know you're busy here like Sakura, but maybe you could come out to our team practices and meet the rest of the gang. Thank you, Naruto-san. It would be nice to make more friends in a new village. With that, Naruto left the hospital to return to his secluded training spot. Thinking of reading through the other scroll today. No secrets from you, are there, Rei-san? Well, there is that, but there is also something else that I want to try. Why so full of mysteries? You're not allowing me access to what you have planned. Though I must say that I am intrigued about your father's scroll and what it contains. A short while later, Naruto has once again made his way back to the section of Training Ground 44 that he had destroyed the previous day. Well, time to see what this one has to say. Indeed, this should be interesting. Rei replied. Naruto, this scroll lists all of our clan techniques as best I can. This is written in my handwriting because it is seen as a point of pride to be able to pass down the clan history by word of mouth to one's own children. Being unable to do that, I had to write everything out that I could think of. The first thing that you need to be aware of is that dragons do not die of old age. We only die through a mortal wound, and we do not age beyond a certain point. Well, that explains my immortality, resurrection from any mortal wound along with healing bodily fluids from the phoenixes, and eternal life and youth from the dragons. Well, let's see what else I can do. The next and most important thing to consider is your form shift ability. All members of the dragon clan are able to shift their form into that of a dragon. In this form, your body is far more powerful than it was in your human form. It is also far more resistant to physical battering and elemental jutsu, with one exception. When we shift into our dragon forms, the metal ions in our bodies rearrange themselves to form a solid metal lattice. Only the most intense of flame can burn, or more accurately melt you. Earth, water, and wind jutsu are also near useless unless they have the ability to put your body under extreme pressure. I'm talking center of the earth pressure. The major drawback is lighting jutsu. Because your body is now made of mostly metal with a sensory system, it is easy to understand how lightning jutsu could pose such a threat. In this form, even the most basic of lightning jutsu will feel like a bolt of lightning. This leaves little doubt that a mid-high level Rasen jutsu could kill you. To actually transform, you need to focus on the call to actually transform. It will be present after battling for a time. You will feel a pull to become more primal, for want of a better word. You are a special case. I just hope that you do not confuse this calling with the Kyuubi's bloodlust and unleash something truly terrifying. Something that you will never have to worry about, Naruto-san. Rei assured Naruto. Your mother may have mentioned this in her letter, but this is all possible by the graces of the gods. When we were searching for answers, we came across some information that led us to want to investigate a place called the Hall of 8 Fathoms. If you truly seek answers as we do, then this is the place that you must search. There is one other place that you must go to. It is the home place of the dragons, located in the mountain range between Kase no Kuni and Iwa no Kuni. There you can meet with the first leaders of the dragon clan, and from then you may learn the sword style passed down through the dragon clan, heightened Mitsurugi Ryu. There is one other reason to meet with them. To be considered the clan head, you must be tested and deemed worthy by one of the past clan heads on your 16th birthday. This is the only way to be considered the true clan head. My final testament to you is the summoning of the dragon clan. This summoning is something that I hope that you ever have to use, for it summons the Shinigami. The price for summoning the Shinigami is high. Depending on what you require of it and what is done, it may take your very soul from your body. This is only to be used as a last resort. The hand signs for this just are different to the usual summoning. They are snake, boar, ram, rabbit, dog, rat, bird, horse, and snake. As I said, use this only as a last resort, and good luck in mastering your dragon form. Well, even more to think about. Do you have any idea what is in this Hall of the 8 Fathom place? I know exactly what it is, but it will require some backstory for me to explain. I don't mind listening. You may or may not know the creation story of our world. It was long disregarded as just a tale and nothing more. Nothing could be further from the truth. The story says that before there was anything, there was simply chaos, without form and without any real definition. From the chaos, the plane emerged that we now know as heaven. In time, 3 deities were born, named no Manaka Nushi no Mikoto, Takami Musubai no Mikoto, and Kami Musubai no Mikoto. These three deities are collectively known as the creation deities. They gave rise to the two beings called Izanagi and Izanami, who were then gifted with Ama no Naboko, a spear that was used to create the elemental countries as you know them today. Okay, I've never heard the story, but how does it fit into the place my parents wanted to go and find? I'm getting to that. After their work was done and the world was formed, they erected a pillar that was in honor of the creation deities, the heavenly August pillar. Wishing to become married, they wound themselves around the pillar and performed a marriage ritual, only it was performed incorrectly and all the children that Izanami gave birth to were disgusting and vile travesties of nature, left to die. How was the marriage ceremony performed incorrectly? Ray smiled at the insightful question as it was about to be answered by the next part of the tale. Upon conferring with the gods as to what went wrong, they were told that at the start of the ceremony Izanami was the first to speak, and as the woman she should have waited for Izanagi to speak first. This impropriety caused their malformed children. They repeated the ceremony and then Izanami gave birth to all of the different kamis. All the different ones. I thought that there was only one. There is one and there are many. They are the different kamis that are parts of the one whole kami. In any case, after they had finished giving birth to the kamis, Izanagi and Izanami built the Hall of 8 Fathoms around the heavenly August pillar. So the Hall of 8 Fathoms is the place that houses the heavenly August pillar. Yes, it is said to be the only place that a mortal can actually converse with the gods directly. Man, this is a serious headfuck. I need some time to think that over. In the meantime, I'm going to try that thing that I wanted to try. Ray remained silent, knowing that he would tell her if he had gone to the trouble of blocking her access to these thoughts. Naruto put his hands into the cross-shaped seal that he used for his Kage Bunshin Jutsu. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he announced. As soon as the smoke cleared, there was Ray standing in all her glory in the forest with Naruto. What did you do? Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.